Welcome to the Joy Quota podcast. I'm Dylan Fole.
I'm Gavin Malcolm.
Our guest today is Alex Landeros. Good friend, pro BMX rider, all-around awesome dude.
Guy has some amazing thoughts on what it takes to find joy, and he has developed such a cool way to do it himself. He's really, really wonderful, and he's got some amazing stories. Enjoy.
All right, tell us about this parkour gym.
Yeah.
It was a really crazy weekend. It all started, I get a call from Bar Spinner, who does BMX shows.
Yeah.
You know,
Legend of BMX.
You guys know him. And he's like, hey, I got this gig. It's a show. Can you do it? Yeah, sure. And then like slowly details start coming out. Like, oh, it's at a parkour gym. We're going to be filming a music video. There's like Guinness Book World Records things going on. And it was just like, it's hard to get information out of them. So I'm like, I don't know what to expect. I'm just showing up.
Classic BMX story, right?
Yeah.
I said yes to a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I said yes to.
Right.
Turns out it was far more extravagant than I would have imagined.
Yeah. No, it was sick. I showed up and it was just this crazy ordeal. So first of all, the parkour gym was pretty cool. It was just filled with like castles and things to jump off of and trampolines, foam pits.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty cool. But it was all painted like Mario on the
sick.
inside.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. And then
Do they have tubes that you like jump down?
yeah, everything.
Wow.
I don't know, everything.
And you go to like hidden worlds and stuff?
Yeah. I love that.
Potentially.
I love that. Yeah. He didn't beat the first level, so we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple world records and he didn't beat the level. I can't even imagine how hard it must be.
Dude, I stayed out of the gym, to be honest. There's a lot of little kids in there.
Yeah.
You know? But it was crazy. There's this band filming a music video, and I think they're the ones who kind of set it all up. It was all for them. And I don't even know the name of the band, but the lead singer was like the lead singer of Simple Plan back in the day.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they're a good band. So, anyways, there's like 300 teenage, middle school girls there that signed up to just be a part of it. And, like, they needed people for the video as, like, background, and they also needed people to, like, help set Guinness Book World Records. So, like...
And it was the band's idea to do the records?
I think so. I don't know. I just don't have all the details.
When was this?
Like a month or two ago.
Oh, okay, so it was
recently.
pretty recent.
Yeah, it was cool. It was right next to the Tesla
Sweet.
place, so like there's like rockets and everything,
That's
and,
awesome.
so it was in a cool area in California. So basically we set up our ramp and they put a pool in the middle of our box jump, and we did a whole bunch of tricks. Like we had like 15 riders, and I'm like all the best riders of SoCal,
Yeah.
So we're out there and we're just doing trains. So it's like most tail whips on the box in a minute, most 360 tables, most backflips. What else do we do? Most Supermans,
Yeah.
And I think
We could finally get in on that.
it was fun, man. I think these are already existing. Some of them were existing records, and we blew them out of the water, like because we had so many riders.
Yeah, because you were set up to do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So how many, like if you're doing the flip train and there's 15 of you guys, how
I
many?
think we got like
actual...
between 30 and 40 each
Wow.
time. Like 35
Jeez.
was our average.
So
And
each
we
gotta
kind
do
of went
two.
down as the day went.
Yeah.
Because
You
it was
get tired,
tiring.
yeah.
Yeah, dude, we were just nonstop laps, And
Was there at least like a quarter after? So you
there's
could
a
maintain
quarter pipe
speed?
and then a box. So we would all pedal in, air the quarter. And then
Land
hit
the box, turn around real quick, and then pedal at it again.
And do a loop. Yeah.
Pedaling will kill you real quick.
Yeah, without a quarter on the other side, it was hard. And you're just like tire, your front tire to back tire to the guy in front of you. So it's just sketchy, and you're full train status. It was fun. So we set like 5 Guinness Book World Records, and then they did all these other records that were like most T-Rexes in one place. So they gave everybody
those
T-Rex suits. Did you
inflatable
guys see any
things.
photos that I posted of it? It was
That's
so
sick.
funny, man.
I probably saw it, but it was so like incomprehensible. I didn't even understand what was going on.
Yeah, I still don't.
It sounds like the greatest day of all time.
So it's just picture like 250 T-Rexes just in an area like just dancing for a little bit.
That's my favorite thing.
I'm excited for this music video. Actually,
it's out. It's out now.
Oh, it is.
So the best part of the story is, we're jumping over the pool the whole time, setting our records.
Yeah.
And then when we get done, the Guinness Book of World Record lady is on the microphone. She's like, "Yeah, they did it," and everyone cheers. And then me, Dylan, and DGAF Dan, we jump into the pool.
Yeah, of
We're
course.
like, "Hell yeah, we're done!" We jump into the pool, fully clothed and everything.
Not this Dylan, by the way. A different Dylan.
Dylan Stark, yeah. Dylan Stark and Dan Norvell. So then we get out and we're just wet and it was funny, everyone's laughing and stuff. And like the main guy who like set it up or was our contact, he's like, they know they're not done riding yet, right? We still have to film the music video, We're like, oh shit. So,
that's amazing.
But luckily I just rode my bike to my house, which was like a block away.
That's super lucky.
I live in a van.
Because you live in a van.
I was like, you just said you were buying Tesla. What? No.
Yeah. Right. So
I should have been on top of
I
that.
changed, got some new shoes, and went back and rode.
Stay the same distance to the mic.
I you know how
Dude,
hard that is.
He's a peacock, Captain. You gotta let him fly.
Let me fly. Let me fly. Let me spread my wings. So that was cool. And then when we filmed the music video, like there was like girls in the pool. There was the band guys like sitting on the edge of the box, and we were just doing tricks over them. And that was super sick. Like my favorite, like there's one clip of me just doing a 720, like a cork 7 over the guy. They're just sitting on the box,
staring at.
Yeah,
they
it was
totally
cool.
got this idea from Ben's backyard from the time that we were there, because we did the pool, we did the jump over the
I mean,
pool
whether
thing,
they saw that and got the idea or not,
and we did the music video.
I didn't know they did a music video for it, because I do remember seeing the.
I made a music video there with
for who?
For Ben.
As
a DJ.
Oh really? I don't think I've ever seen that.
I want to see this music video for sure.
Not bad. I watch it every once in a while.
We have photos. We have photos in BMX Plus magazine too.
That's what I was picturing as AJ front flipped it
Yep.
and got a photo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude.
No, but Ben wanted to make a music video. Vitamin Water gave him some money randomly, and so it was just a party music video from DJ,
It was just another party.
But like Scott was playing drums on top of the box, and you guys were jumping over him.
I remember this now.
Yeah.
Dude. That back
it turned out pretty awesome. I watch it.
I'll have to watch it.
Every couple of years, and it's not bad.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So
and I'll show you.
Is it better than the music video we made on the steps of the Opera House in Sydney?
Oh man. So we did make a music video with our friend Andrew, who lip synced Every Time We Touch
by Cascada.
Yeah.
When was this?
When we were in Australia.
I would have been
2011.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, 2011.
Nice. I got to see this.
It
was
is
right before
hilarious.
I moved in with you and.
That's kind of what pushed you to move to California. Is how shitty.
Yeah, I had a rough go of it in Australia, and so.
Well, you were just like, I'm going to move to California, make music videos, and like be a star.
Pretty much,
essentially, yeah.
Yeah, he told us like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna move to California.
No, I was talking to AJ one time and just like complaining about how like, because it was rough. Like we tried to go with no money and last a year in this place where we're the immigrants, so you can't like get a job doing normal stuff.
You gotta get a job on a farm.
Yeah, and I did that for 4 days, and I'm like, knock it out.
Yeah.
This is not me.
Well, and you didn't last getting a job, period. Like, I've never known you to do anything. Like, literally, Dylan is the most particular person. Like, I don't eat that. I don't do that. Yeah. I don't that.
I'm just like, I don't work.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
Yeah. It's so funny. I mean,
like, well...
In all fairness, you were working with a much worse crew, because we were with, like, the fun... like immigrant crew that's like a bunch of people there to have fun and like party, and this is like an affordable way to do it. Mm-hmm. He's with the Korean dudes who are literally machines. I've never seen anything like it.
Literally, like you're picking tomatoes off this vine, and they're like
all day,
as fast as they can, and I'm like trying and like covered in like it's 100 degrees out.
Picking tomatoes.
Picking tomatoes, covered in pesticides and all this shit.
Man.
It's a hard day's work.
And and then so I did that for a couple days, and then had to switch to melons, and then you're like walking and like picking up a melon. What
was worse, melons or tomatoes?
Melons. Without a doubt.
Fucking melons.
because tomato picking, they have this insane machine where you sit in like a
At least
broke
you're
down
sitting, yeah.
like school desk chair seat that's
Mm-hmm.
mounted to this huge wing of this machine, and you just like reach into the vine and go nuts. But melon picking, you literally just walk behind a tractor and do like 30-pound deadlifts for 8 hours in 100-degree weather.
Wow.
I did it one day, and I was like, if I get selected to do watermelons again, I'm done. Because
It was watermelons?
well, yeah, and like some
Okay,
of these
so,
things
yeah,
are like
they're big and
30
heavy.
pounds,
Yeah.
and no one told me that watermelon vines are super, super scratchy and itchy.
Yeah.
And I'm in shorts because it's hot as balls outside. And I came home. It took like a week before I stopped scratching the skin off my legs. Like, it was
Wow.
so rough.
So, yeah. Either way, it was a rough go. I would talk to AJ, and he's like, I'm living at Ben's. I have an extra bed in my room. Come live with me. And then, so I'm like, screw it. I flew back home for Christmas, and then day after Christmas, drove to
Yeah.
California and lived there for 3 years.
And then you showed up with your headphones and didn't talk to anybody for a
Yeah.
fucking year. And
In all
wasn't quite that
fairness,
long.
that's like one of the best things I think has ever happened to Dylan is him going to California and having to live with all you knuckleheads.
yeah.
Because
Yeah, we
he was
burst
the
your fucking
shyest,
shell. We burst
for
your
sure.
shell.
most like
Absolutely.
introverted person I'd ever known in my entire
Yeah.
life, besides maybe his brother. And when I went out and visited him in California, he was a maniac and having all this fun, and like he was out like
It
being
took
the
a
life
while,
of the
though.
party.
It took a while, though.
Yeah, because it was like a year and
Took
a
a
half
long
in,
time.
and that's when I met you
Yeah.
and like Ben and all the guys over there. And
You lived there for 3 years?
I lived in
Is that what you
California
said?
for 3 years. I
California.
only lived with Ben for, I think, a year.
Right.
Or maybe a year and a couple months.
Because I showed up right before you moved out.
Yeah, probably. And that, yeah, I absolutely credit that with a huge part of my
Your life, yeah. It's just,
like growing as a person, and Alex especially, because he's like, since I've known him, has been like a more wild, just
I want to hear you guys talk about me.
Carefree.
What,
Yeah,
like, what, I want to hear
carefree.
your opinions about me.
Well, you're just a lot more extroverted, which I think spending time around someone who wasn't going to put up with Dylan being introverted.
Exactly.
Like,
That's a
like
wow,
that's really what
wow.
it is everything in life revolves around
I'm really glad
standards,
you just
right?
said
So
that.
like if you want something in your life to be better, you have to increase your standards. Well, like we weren't going to keep Dylan accountable as a friend group to push him to be more extroverted. We would have just been like, this is the only Dylan we know.
Right.
He's going to be uncomfortable.
I wasn't going to accept it because I
Alex
lived
is
in a
not gonna
house.
let that happen.
Not, like you say, I'm wild. Like I lived in a house. Everybody was fucking wild. Everybody was huge personalities. You know.
Yeah, you look
crazy
like
men.
Big Daddy, AJ,
We're all-
Ben.
We're all professional BMX riders that just partied
one-
all night, rode
one
BMX
guy
all day.
in the house, Brian Russell, had a job.
One.
And that
Yeah.
was it.
He'd come out on Wednesday nights like, guys, it's 3 a.m. I have work tomorrow. We're like, then live somewhere else. Like,
Yeah.
this is not good for you. But anyway, it's like, yeah, I there's just something so interesting about Dylan because he just sat in his room with his back to the door, with his
Mysterious.
headphones on, staring at a computer,
'Cause, like,
not talking to anyone. I'm
I
like,
just
this
wanted
is
to take it serious. Like, this was the first. All right, this was the first time like I had to pay rent.
No,
I mean,
I get
so,
that you
like-
wanted to take it serious, but I was like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
You have to have fun. Like, we're having so much fun on the daily.
Yeah,
by
you
the
live
minute.
underneath the
By
skate
the
park.
minute.
You
Yeah.
literally live
And
underneath
here's
the skate
Dylan, who's
park.
not coming out of his freaking shell of a room with his headphones. And I was just like, you're right. Like, I was not going to stand it. I was like, I'm going to get this guy out of it was like a personal challenge. I'm like, I'm going
Yeah.
to get this guy out of the room and like drag him along with us.
Which he needed, because we
I
wouldn't have
absolutely
been that
needed it,
person,
yeah.
because we
Yeah.
had known Dylan.
And
And I'm
so long.
just so grateful for that because
That's
who
awesome.
knows what would have happened.
And like I've met other people like that, and I was just I have no interest in it's like, oh, it's a lost cause. I don't know. There was just something that I was like, I just saw in you or something. I don't know why. I was just like, hey,
Yeah,
Come on.
every now and again, because I feel like I relate to you in the sense that I'm incredibly extroverted and like boisterous, and I love to be the center of attention and all that
that's what I
stuff.
like about you.
And so, well, I feel like that's what I don't like about you is we're always competing for it, right? Which I love. I'm joking, obviously. You're awesome. Yeah, it's so funny because every now and again I'll meet someone and I'm just like, I'm gonna bring this out of you. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just feel it in here that I'm going to get you to step out of your. And then there's other people where you're just like, I guess that's who you are.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So so funny that Dylan moves out because he had to knife fight a bunch of rats in Australia, living in a hammock, and then he moves out to Australia and meets Alex, who's literally like, I didn't recognize Dylan after a year of living with you guys. It was so
recognize
awesome.
him now.
It
He
was
does stuff
amazing.
now that scares me. I'm like, oh, Dylan, should pump the brakes a little bit, man. Like,
You unleashed the beast, dude.
yeah, I do. I'm like, what did I do?
Wow.
Well, it was just like because I couldn't stand out riding. Like everybody that I was around is like this crazy bike rider, and like I just, for whatever reason, I just like.
So you decided to stand out by eating cheeseburgers in one bite?
Yeah.
That's when Dylan the villain came to
I feel
birth.
like you guys really unleashed Dylan the villain because
That
he
was the
joked
thing that
about it a
happened,
couple times. I remember growing up.
It was a
And then
particular
he-
road trip.
He came back and he's like, "I am Dylan the villain."
Yeah.
It was
I want to hear
high
the
school
story.
nickname. It was a high school nickname given to me by my 10th grade
Yeah.
gym teacher, but
Right.
it kind of went
You
away.
you didn't
for
own it
many
until-
years. Yeah, until this particular road trip.
Tapes for the Babes road trip. Shout out to Ryan Gutler for buying an
So
RV,
sad I
wrapping
missed out
it,
on that.
getting sponsors, getting all of us hooligans in an RV to just road trip around the country,
It was
ride
like
BMX.
the greatest time.
It was awesome. It was those are some really good road trips.
Yeah.
And that's when Dylan the villain came out. And I had partied with Dylan before, so I'd kind of seen like what he was capable of. Cause like now you're like leveled out, you know, but back then you were like super closed off. And then maybe once a month you'd be like, yeah, I'll go out drinking, and then turn into this raging animal. You
Yeah,
know? And you'd be like,
absolutely.
where did this come from? You know, like now you've like kind of mellowed out, you know, but back then it was
You really
still just
sort
like,
of found yourself versus before.
for
It was
sure.
just you'd open the door, sneak out, go insane, and then
then
come back home,
go back in the
shut
shell.
the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the one road trip, it was just the funniest thing. Like we're all partying in the RV, driving down the highway, and we stop at a McDonald's. Gutler's like, "Give me 50 cheeseburgers." You know, it's just the funniest thing ever. We get back in the RV, and Dylan just out of nowhere is just like, "Who wants to see me eat this cheeseburger in one bite?" Like we're just losing it because this is the most random thing I've ever heard.
I
in my
trained
life.
for this.
Yeah, oh yeah, you said I trained for this. And we're like, yeah, all of us, let's see it. And he just proceeds to stuff this cheeseburger, like just like forcing it into his mouth. And we were just dying laughing. It was the funniest thing.
But that's
And-
not
and
where the
this is-
villain nickname came from.
But like this is like you hadn't you don't talk like the whole trip, you know, like
Right,
because you were
yeah.
still in your like
Yeah, that's
very,
probably the first
So, like,
thing that Dylan said to
right,
the group
so,
the
like,
entire trip.
It's like 4 days in on a road trip with like 8 guys in RV, and he's like, you know, quiet Dylan behind his camera, and then all of a sudden we're partying, and then he's saying this. We're just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the taser
The
came
taser.
out.
So the taser.
I like that. Hold on, we need to address the fact that Alex just talked about the cheeseburger story with the enthusiasm that any other person would talk about the taser story, and that's because he loves you, dude. Like that's someone who really loves Dylan. It's like I saw Dylan own something and become something new. Like I'm so excited. Oh yeah, and he tased himself in the face, whatever. And
Well, he tased me first.
yeah.
Well, here's the thing though. He was like, I think you were like, I'm gonna tase myself or something, and I was
No,
like,
all
I
right.
can't let him go down by himself.
No,
I was
no,
like, I
this was
got
not-
you.
This way, no.
How did it go?
remember
I don't
exactly.
know. Okay.
We were driving down the road, and I think this was right before the cheeseburger, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Either way.
knows?
So Gutler had brought the taser, and like we were just bored on a long drive, and he brought it out and was just like playing with it, not doing anything. You grab it, and we're like, you were kind of playing with it, and you're like, I'm gonna tase myself. And then you held it.
I was saying that.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
cool.
you were like, and then you're just not doing it. Right? Like you were just playing with it and I'm gonna, whatever, not doing anything for like 5 minutes.
Well,
And so
everyone
then-
was really scared of it too, so I
Oh,
think
for
I was
sure,
like kind of
because
like
it makes a
like
gnarly noise.
it makes a gnarly noise.
Yeah.
It really doesn't feel like much when you tase.
well,
get
it seemed
tased.
like a fairly official taser.
Those kinds they don't feel like much.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. But they have that blue like
Oh, it makes an
electricity
insane
lightning bolt
loud
and it
noise,
yeah,
yeah.
da, da, da. So I think I was like building the anticipation because everyone was like, "Oh,
Absolutely.
crazy! Keep that thing away from me."
Exactly, yeah. But then I just get frustrated, like he's not tasing himself. So I grab it and I'm like, I'm gonna tase you and then tase myself.
And I was like, yeah, sounds good.
And then
probably.
I'm like, where? Or somebody's like, where are you gonna do it? And then. And then you're like, oh, right here in the leg. And I'm like, nope.
Dylan
in the
goes,
neck, of course.
Yeah, in the neck, of course. Like, as if it's like the most normal thing. Like, in the neck. Duh.
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
stupid
what?
idiot. Why
Yeah.
would you
And
do it
then
in the neck?
what? Before you can even say no, I do it.
Yeah, he's just attacking me.
Get him in the neck.
I fall backwards.
Victor Salazar, shout out to him. He's driving the RV. He slams on the brakes because he sees us in the rearview mirror. You go flying over
backwards over the little handrail into
handrail,
like the stairwell.
Into the stairwell.
Oh.
I do myself, and I want to sell it because like I'm trying to show off to these guys.
I
They're
look
like the
up-
best bike riders ever. So like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to like sell it. So I like launch myself back onto the couch, roll my eyes back in my head. Everybody's just going nuts.
It was like the most like it was like just execution style. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Just yeah,
just-
neck. And,
Dude.
Yeah, totally. I totally sell it, and then Guler just starts screaming, "It's Dylan the villain! Dylan the villain!"
and then from then on, yeah,
From then on.
and because you went from like the shy, quiet guy that you didn't talk like on that trip, and we all knew you before that trip, most of us, and you didn't talk ever, and then all of a sudden you're just like swallowing cheeseburgers and tasing people and, and you're in the neck, just being the life of the party. Like you were being the life of the party, but you went from like 0 to 1,000.
Because it's interesting because like it seems like that from the outside. In my mind, like I've always been like this, but I just couldn't express it. And we talked about it a little bit on the podcast before, but like a lot of anger came like that, and it's just been like really weird for me because like I've always wanted to do stuff like that.
You
and
just needed an
know-
RV and a taser and a cheeseburger to set you free.
And
Dude,
it did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Sometimes that's all it
Sometimes-
takes.
Puzzle pieces. Crazy.
Sometimes you just need like a week alone in a room and just like sensory deprivation. Other people, they need an RV, a cheeseburger, and a taser.
Yeah.
A couple good buddies.
Hey, anybody listening, write that down.
Yeah.
Try it. And maybe it's for
Secret
you.
to
and maybe
success
it's not for you.
Ingredients: RV, taser, cheeseburgers.
Yeah. In any order. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it really was like these. I mean, we were hanging out with like some of the best bike riders in the world, and to me, that was just since I was a kid, like that was the
Yeah.
coolest thing ever. And so I'm like, how am I going to prove that I am worthy to hang out with them? Or
I'm gonna tase myself in the neck.
I mean, opportunities arise. That's the lesson. Opportunities arise, and you take the opportunity,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, you're very good at doing that now. I'll say.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you.
very good at seizing the opportunity, and that's a very important thing. I think. Like
Dylan's
Same,
always
yeah.
had a
opportunities
send it
come
factor.
and go, and they don't come again.
Same,
You gotta,
yes.
You gotta
So,
take it.
speaking of opportunities, I had an opportunity to join you guys for just a little bit of the tapes for the Babes tour. And I literally wrote down on my list of goals for that year, like I'm going to make it on a tapes for the Babes tour, because I was riding it like the best I'd ever ridden.
Nice.
I was at the peak of my game. I was pumped. I had just hung out with you guys out in California. And I was so fired up. And I was in Las Vegas when you guys were in Las Vegas. I think some mention of like getting us into a contest had even happened, and I was like, I have to do this. I just done well at an amateur contest out in California, so I was like, this is my moment, this is my shot. And then for whatever reason, I let everyone in the group that I had road tripped out to Vegas separately with convince me to go back home. And looking back, I was like, that's a $75 flight.
Yeah.
Like if I had tried or had like any ounce of resolve, I absolutely could have made it happen. To where I
Definitely.
could have stayed out there, hung out with the whole crew. And that's a perfect example of like not taking the opportunity.
Well, sometimes taking the opportunity it's a risk. It's a jump into the deep end, and not a lot of people are accustomed to doing that, and it comes with practice. But the way I think of it, because I'm always that risk taker, and I'll jump in the deep end all day. And you could like let's say you stayed and things went wrong or something, and then you had to spend a lot of money, and but looking back, like let's say you're like, oh shit, now flights back home are $300 and I don't even have that much money or whatever, anything.
yeah, I think it had
whatever
$5
happens,
in my name, whatever it was.
Yeah, but like looking back on it now, like 2-3 years later, you're not going to remember that time you spent a whole bunch of money and you were like bummed and had to work really hard or whatever, you're going to remember that crazy story and that crazy trip and that opportunity that you took, and it's always a good story eventually, you know?
Yeah, that lesson that I learned from not taking that opportunity has really helped me to where now, like, I won't let it go. Like, there's no part of me that will let something like that slip ever again, which I'm grateful for. Like, the best way to learn a lesson is the hard way, because you only need the lesson once.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. Yeah, looking back, all I can think of is, like, one day I accidentally got drunk and spent, like, $125 on weird hats that I really wanted on Amazon. Like, that same money.
The one you're wearing now?
Yeah, this is one of the hats.
That's really cool.
It's the best,
We can go into his hat addiction.
We're going to talk about that later.
Yeah.
But the point is, you're not going to miss the money or whatever. Like, you're not going to miss anything but the opportunity. So always take the opportunity.
Yeah, I always call this idea of life like the everything is good theory, and I'll talk about it in a second. Or I've been recently told like the zoom out theory, because like, you know, if you do something and it's bad, it's shitty, you know, you're gonna be bummed on yourself, you're gonna be, you know, depressed, whatever. But eventually, given some time, whether it's 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, 50 years, eventually you're gonna look back on it and be like, oh yeah, I learned this lesson from it, I learned this lesson from it, and you could like laugh at it. Yeah. You know, so if something good happens, it's good. If something bad happens, it's bad at the time, but then eventually you're like, oh, you know, like that's good. Like, I'm glad, you know, so it's like everything's good eventually. Yeah. Or like, you know, so if you're ever going through, you're going through it, you know, you're driving through the mud, just like zoom out, you know, and be like, hey, am I going to like, you know, you're like, say you're just stressing, like freaking out about something that's happening in the present moment. Zoom out and you're like, oh, am I really going to care about this a year from now? Like, how am I going to think about this situation a year from now? Like, oh, I'll probably just be like, oh, that sucked at the time. Haha, that's funny that happened.
Most of the time, you won't even remember that it happened.
Or you won't even remember that it happened. Yeah.
I cannot stress that same theory anymore. Like, I tell people all the time, either it's going to work out fine eventually, or you're going to die and your problem's over anyways. So, like, in all honesty, why worry? Like, it'll... Yeah. Even if it takes 50
terrible.
years.
Well, that's I feel like that's the entire message of Joy Quota, and that's what we're trying to spread is like, look at your life, like look at it, even picture when you're 80 years old, like, and look back to now. Like, are you going to?
I'm so glad I got those spreadsheets in on time.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, like. I
really nailed it.
So
my boss was so happy with me. Yeah. He doesn't even know my name, but it's fine.
Like, absolutely. Yeah. What are you gonna regret when you're 80? And like they've done these studies where nobody says they regret.
Oh yeah. Go read some deathbed confessionals. It's the best thing ever. If you take their advice, I mean, if anyone's advice you should take those people's advice.
Yeah, take someone's advice who's staring down the barrel of dying.
And they're like talking about their life and what they should have done, what they shouldn't have done. And they all say the same thing, you know? I regret spending so much time on my job and my career and this, and I should have spent more time developing the relationships that I had and enjoying myself and doing the things I want to do, and like not letting fear like stop me from doing that.
Yeah,
so because we don't need to be 80 to feel that. Like, we want to feel that now and be like, okay, I'm going to say yes to this, whatever it is. It doesn't need to be doing something.
Yeah, it doesn't have
yourself
to be
in the neck. Don't take yourself in the neck.
Not recommended.
But it's.
I mean, it's fine.
The
it's
opportunity to make a name for yourself in a moment where you easily could have just let someone else who was more naturally prone to taking the spotlight have the moment. You came in and you made a huge moment, especially because you had such a big stage. You were so quiet that if you did anything, it would have made a wave. And instead you were like, I'm going to make this a tsunami. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like we could even take it one step further of, oh, I spent too much time on my career, or the people who are like, I didn't enjoy the time it took to build my career, right? Like, I know people who have really successful normal careers who, looking back now that they're established and they've done really, really well for themselves and they're in a wonderful place now, all they can think of is, I don't know why I didn't have fun while I built myself to this place, right?
Right. Are they having fun now, though?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good, because some people get stuck in it, though, too. And then, you know, it's like, oh, hey, you're successful. Why don't you just
enjoy it?
yeah, enjoy it. Take a pause, you know.
Help someone else go get to the same
and-
place you're at, and that'll bring you so much joy.
Yeah, because like that's a good way of life too. You know, like doing the college thing, getting a career, making the money. You know, like getting, you know,
Yeah,
settled
because there's
in.
nothing wrong with like
but
a
then,
normal
but then,
job.
but then, go out and live your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I think the biggest thing is enjoying that part of the journey, whether your journey is more along the lines of what we've all chosen to do, which is a little more freestyle, a little more shoot from the hip, or if your journey is like, honestly, I want to go save someone's life as an ER doctor. Like, that's a 20-year journey to get to that point. But that doesn't mean for 20 years you shouldn't be enjoying your life. It's like you find little moments throughout that little pockets of like, oh, wow, I did this, or I get to go do this, or really, like you said, zooming out and saying like 20 years from now I'm going to be like,
Yeah.
I blanked out,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden now I'm established and I'm really where I need to be in life, but I don't remember the last 10 years because I didn't do anything of consequence from like a memory standpoint. Like I didn't create memories, I didn't create relationships, things that really matter.
My issue now is I'm creating too many memories, and I can't record them all. You know.
There's only so much space. We just
Yeah,
keep
that's
recording
my-
over.
We're just speaking to three different sets of
Every,
concussions.
Every concussion deletes gigs
Yeah.
of data, and they're just gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's something that's so cool about I was thinking about this the other day. If Allie and I ever have kids, one day, this is on the internet forever. So at some point, like, my kids or grandkids might have access to these cool memories that I'm getting to talk about now. And
All right, let's talk about
All
your
that
like
stuff.
deepest secrets.
no, we're talking
Let's
about
talk-
you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's get into
That was
me-
one thing.
let's tell me
That's
some-
another thing that Alex had done for me is like use Instagram and like a diary almost, like so for your personal sake to look back on. Because
because
even
it's
if
always
you-
there.
Yeah, even if you look back
Supposedly.
on when we all started on Instagram, whatever 3-5 years ago, like, and if you could just post a stupid caption like "living my best life," whatever, or you could write like 2 sentences.
Yeah,
to
I try
describe
to
it.
try to write
To
a little
describe what
memory,
you're feeling,
and I don't
yeah.
care who's reading it. I don't care. It's for me, you know.
Exactly.
To look
It's
back
me
on.
in 5 years, in 10 years, in 50 years.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that's still there, and you can look back on that as a diary, and that.
That's clutch.
Yeah, it'll be so cool.
That's
to be able
actually
to do that.
something. So you shared it with Dylan. Dylan shared it with me, and now I'm finally like getting back to a place where I'm like, I really want to get back on Instagram for that reason alone.
Yeah, it
'Cause
could
I'm
be. It's
very
awesome.
into myself.
I-
and I'll
anytime-
get sucked into all of the like
No.
social media-ness of
No,
it.
screw that. Like so many people were like, "Oh, I hate it," or Facebook, Instagram. I was
Well,
like,
even
"You're just
Gavin.
using it the wrong way."
Even Gavin has been like
Yeah.
proud of the fact that he hasn't been on it for the last year or whatever.
No,
amount
that
of
is
time.
cool.
Well, and I
That's
needed
awesome.
that because I genuinely got to a point where I was like checking to see if like the right amount of people had liked something or
Right.
like see. I cared way too much about it, and so
And it's hard
seeing
not
it
to
as
do
a,
that.
but seeing it as
It's
a
fun,
diary and something as a tool for me, not as a stage,
Right.
but like
For
a
future Gav.
tool for me. Yeah,
Use it as a
is
tool.
something that
Use it as a
has
tool. I mean,
allowed
like-
me to like actually get back into it.
You
a
could
little.
find so many cool places to go experience through Instagram and Facebook, you know, from other people going there and tagging it. You know, you could
Yeah.
use it to enrich your life in an awesome way if you choose to use it that way, you know.
which
Which most people don't, but you can do it.
yeah, absolutely. That's been like the biggest way. Like that's the only reason I've gotten back into all of that is now I'm like, oh, I can reach out to so and so because they would be super fun to collaborate on something for Joy Quota. Or I'm like, oh, I went and rode Wheat Ridge. This was like the first skate park day in a while, and I'm actually pretty proud of how it went. I'll go film
put
a
it on
little
there.
thing, and now
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Facebook memories things is like the coolest thing ever.
Dude,
pretty cool.
How cool
Yeah.
is it? You know, like
Such a
it
good idea.
pops up photos that I didn't necessarily remember in a little caption. I'm like, wow, yeah, that was such a good day.
Yep.
And had I not posted it on Facebook 5-6 years ago, I wouldn't remember that memory at all. You know, so it's a really cool thing.
Heck yeah. Well, speaking of fun memories, I feel like you have made a particularly adept set of skills for adventuring and making
fun
stories.
memories.
What have you been up to recently? I know you've been going nuts. You just got into town.
Recently, I've been a freaking truck driver, and I've driven. I would like to figure out how many miles I've logged in the last month.
They do have apps for that.
Yeah, I
Can't
should
be too
figure that out. So I've been doing a lot of shows, BMX, travel trips, and I've been just driving all over the country. I think it started. Well, I was down in Mexico for like a week, so that was a lot of driving. A little surf trip with a buddy. And then about a week after that, I went out to Sedona for a BMX thing that lasted about a little over a week. Drove back. Then drove up to Seattle for a BMX show. Drove back. Then to Vegas. And then straight from Vegas, my friends picked me up, and we did a 2-week road trip to Florida for Swamp Fest.
Yeah.
Which we should definitely talk about Swamp Fest. And then
Absolutely.
Drove back from there, and I thought I was going to have like at least a week to relax and chill out, but figured out I was driving to Denver 2 days later, and here I am in Denver. So I think I've been in like
Just in time
11
for
or
Blizzard.
12 states, most of them repeats, in the last month or so. Just
Jeez.
all driving, all BMX related. And I love it. I really don't mind long road trips. I've been doing them my whole life. I grew up doing road trips. It's my thing. I love it.
Preaching to the choir. I love a good road trip. That's what I've been asking for my birthday for the last like 5 years.
Road trips are great. Like
he loves the road trip. I'm less of a fan, so that's why we haven't done it. And that's
Yeah,
why
Well, and
do it-
all of the rest of
why
our
I
friends are
didn't go
far
on
more
Swamp Fest.
adulty.
you need the right recipes, to make a good road trip work.
Oh, your phone is not on silent.
Who is it?
Naperville. It's spam.
Ah.
But you need the right recipes for a good road trip to make it work.
But that's what I love is even all the road trips I've been on that have been disasters are just
Those
as
are the
good
best
of a
memories.
story. So the one
Zoom out theory.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything is good.
So that exact road trip I was talking about to Vegas where I didn't get to go on the Tapes for Babe tour and all that stuff, because that was right after Dylan the Villain popped out. So, like, Dylan had a lot of credibility with you guys. I might have been able to sneak in. And, like, I remember getting back and just being like, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, my gosh, that sucks. But now I look back, I'm like, that was the craziest road trip. We stayed at, like, this crazy meth hotel. We got to Vegas, and there was a needle underneath one of our mattresses. One of the dudes got lost and, like, almost didn't make it back to the hotel. Like, all these crazy stories. And I'm like, that was actually an awesome road trip. All of the you don't remember the downsides. You only remember the craziness of the story and the joy that just remembering.
Or sometimes you
did
remember the
something.
downsides, but then looking back on it, you're like, oh, that was the best part.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I look back, I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, that was like, I got a trophy from Alan Cook that he handmade for getting third place in the contest in Cali, and this kid stole it. One of the kids we road
No
tripped
way.
with, Dylan Egley, stole it. I never got it from him ever. And I don't
Dylan,
know
if you're
why.
listening.
Jesus,
Yeah.
called out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come
no.
to the studio right now,
I'll
trophy
fight
in
you
hand.
with a knife. No,
oh, knife fights.
wow.
All
no, it,
Just don't touch the hair.
yeah,
It's all
I
exactly.
rule.
usually don't call people out.
No, he
Fully.
knows what he did.
All right. I mean,
That's
fair
such a
enough.
Hey, it's a
personal
trophy.
thing.
That's
That's
an
such a
I mean,
personal
totally.
thing. And I remember having Alan Cook on a poster in my room growing up, like, and it was so funny that, like, I got to meet my hero. He gave me a trophy. It was, like, the craziest thing. And at the time, I was so butthurt. Now I'm like, that makes for such a good story. Like,
Yeah.
that's so entertaining, and it's a good story. And, like, what
Did
would I
he-
do? Just have this trophy? It was a helmet with a bell, like, thing that was glued to it. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. It was just, like, so cool that he made it. What am I going to do with that now?
Yeah.
Like, now, my whole life, I'm trying to, like, get rid of all of these things I've collected
Yeah.
so that I don't have so
and
much.
here you are telling this story, kind of laughing about it.
Yeah,
You're like,
it
he stole my
brings me
cro-
joy 'cause it makes
stole my
me-
trophy.
He
Laugh at what a
he
funny
airs
story it is.
like 8 feet out of that 12-foot or 14-foot.
I know, and it breaks my
bowl.
heart
So
every
did-
time I see him shred. I'm like, God, I hate you can
Well,
do something.
Did
I can't.
did he use the helmet as like an actual helmet to?
No,
For safety?
He
No.
never wore it because it didn't even have straps. It was just a trophy, and they'd like spray painted it. It was.
Did he think he deserved it, or was there?
I have no
We don't
idea.
know.
I have no idea.
We
But
did.
I remember reaching out to everyone on the road trip, like, "Hey, how do I get this back? I'll drive to his house."
That's
He's
funny.
like, "No, I don't know where it is." And I was like, "You know exactly where that is. Come on." But yeah, I mean, but that's the whole zoom out
Also,
theory. Is
you
now
lose
it's
a lot
hilarious.
of shit on a road trip, by the way. That is
Oh,
a
yeah,
thing.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So,
you always
but
lose stuff.
That's
Are we
the whole
calling
zoom out.
people?
He had a history
way.
at the time of taking things from.
This is circumstantial. That is so circumstantial. As somebody that has a history of stealing things said they don't know where your thing is.
And
I don't want.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways, we got to go
don't know.
find this
Yeah.
guy as soon as this
But,
wraps up right now. No, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, again, back to the zoom out theory. The whole important part of the subject is like now that's one of my favorite parts of the story.
Yeah.
It's like
It's the most entertaining
Yeah,
part
it
to
made
tell.
it and like I don't feel any hurt. I don't feel like any loss. At the time I was like frustrated, but now I'm like, thank God I don't have to make that judgment call now,
Yeah.
looking back with like nostalgia on this like thing that I would never have
it's
up
like-
anywhere. Like
The best things in life are either like the really good things or the really bad things. You know, it's like the
Yeah.
drama. Like watch a movie. Like if everything just goes perfectly along the whole time, it's boring. You're not going to watch
Amen.
that movie.
Yeah, God
it's the
forbid
drama
everything
that,
works first try.
works good. So when you're in the drama, learn how to realize that and then like embrace it and be
yeah,
like,
get excited for the story it will be.
yeah, exactly. Embrace the drama and the mud that you're going through.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, talking about mud, let's go to Swamp Fest.
Yeah,
How-
perfect.
Oh, mud. Okay.
Can we just talk about what a great transition that was? I'm so
Wow.
proud of you doing
Come here,
full.
come here.
That was amazing.
Can the
We'll take
microphones hear that high five? I hope it can. That was a
Crispy.
solid high
That was
five.
crispy.
Yeah, it was great. Like, first of all, I drove there for a week in a van. So by the time I got there, like me and my crew, we were burned out. We were going hard. We were riding bikes. We were partying. We were having the time of our lives. But it was a great time. I swear next year I'm going to bring a second bike or something so I could join in the mud festivities.
That's
like the
the
swamp
worst part,
rail.
is it-
And yeah, it was, yeah.
It looks like if you really care about your bike, which
Or anything,
most
like
of the
your
people,
shoes or just-
most of the people there, like that's their only bike, or they use that specific bike to make money and a
Yeah.
living and pay rent.
Right.
You're not about to go huck that into mud. Like,
Yeah, but it just looks like such a fun time. So I need to be a part of that next year. And hopefully it happens. It sounds like it's going to happen.
You could probably buy a Walmart bike for one shot.
That's
at
what I was
a-
thinking.
At a handrail.
Yeah.
Or they had an
By
obstacle
Walmart.
course, the Scotty Kramer obstacle
Yeah.
course. you know.
That looked impossible.
Yeah, I think somebody did. I don't know. Or
From what
I did see somebody.
I
get
watched
across.
Somebody
I
won it.
watched their like obstacle course video on Scotty's channel, and no one even came close. They had to break it into three separate
Somebody
sections.
got-
They had to
I
break it
can't
into
remember.
three
I
separate
I think it was
I don't
Corey
watch
Walsh
any
or
of that
something.
shit.
I don't know.
There were a couple dudes who were killing it for sure, but they had to break it into three
I don't know
separate
Corey,
sections.
but I feel like he's more of the go around the loop thing, not the obstacle
No,
course.
he-
I could be completely
No,
wrong.
it's definitely Corey Walsh. It was him. Alstrin was doing awesome on it.
That's
One other
yeah.
dude was also doing really well, who I don't know. But
Either way, we're
It looked
this is not
impossible.
our-
Yeah, it was just, if you ride BMX or have any interest in bicycles, like mountain bikes or anything, you have to go. Even if you don't have any interest in any of those things, you should go if you like just like rowdy redneck fun shenanigans.
looked
Yeah,
like-
we'll be there. Joy Quota will be there next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even if you
Let's-
just
let's
don't
pack that
participate,
right
No,
now.
you just sit
I'm
there
100%
watching.
right now. We're
It's
going next
just
year.
so much mayhem's going down. Like it'll entertain anybody. It'll be, get off your couch. It'll be better
there's
than any
monster
TV
trucks
show
going
you've ever
through the
seen.
mud,
Yeah,
There's
yeah, I'd like to go down
fireworks
for sure.
constantly. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
We'll go.
we bought about $400 worth of fireworks, collectively as the van, and we had so many that the other groups of people that were launching off mortars ran out and came over to us to buy some. That was cool.
Yeah, get some of that money back.
Yeah, we decided to buy a whole bunch of beer, and we're like, we're gonna sell it and make tons of money, because last year there's people just like, late night Saturday, just like, sell me beer,
Yeah.
I think we bought 13 cases, 24
Wow.
cases. We didn't sell any of them. We didn't even try. We were too
smashed
busy.
them.
We were too busy.
Smashed 13.
We
I
didn't
don't
drink
know
them
math,
all that
but-
night. We came home at the end of the road trip with 5, I think.
5
But,
beers or 5 cases?
5 cases.
Okay.
We did a good job though.
Yo, that's a solid effort.
we did a good job.
I don't know math that well.
That's a
I feel like
solid
that's
effort.
like 400 beers perhaps.
I don't know.
That's awesome, though.
Funny story is we went to Walmart right before Swamp Fest,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gearing up, food, propane, beers, and we have tons of beers. We have all these beers. Like each one of us individually has 2 or 3 cases. We have like boxes of wine, bottles of wine, bottles of liquor, all this stuff, and we're checking out. And one by one, we're going to the checkout, and we had missed the period to buy alcohol by like 5 minutes. It was like 12:07. So one by one, we're getting told like, oh, you can't buy it anymore, and the lady's picking up everything that we can't buy and putting into a cart to like eventually restock. But it was just so funny. Like I was the 3rd person to the checkout line, and I'm like, oh, what, and they take everything, and it was so funny like watching more and more people in our crew show up with all this stuff.
Bummed looking down the line of just like, oh,
it was hilarious. There's 2 carts full because that was even more than what we ended up buying. Like we probably had more than the 13 cases. We went and bought that from a gas station because it was just a Walmart rule or something.
Yeah.
But we had there's 2 carts full of just everything.
Crazy.
It was the funniest thing. Like looking at these 2 carts, like, well, we try.
Give it a solid effort, boys.
Yeah.
Solid
it was probably
effort.
good that happened because even though we bought 13 cases, that was less than what we would have bought.
And you still didn't finish
13
them all.
cases you did buy, but there was also 2 carts on additional. So
That's a pretty aggressive buy too.
So we said we were gonna sell and make some money, but everyone was really prepared this year. Last year there was a lot of beer shortages.
I'll speak to this.
Everyone
I
was
feel
very
like
prepared.
I missed the best year of Swamp Fest, which was last year.
I feel like
I think it was the best.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there the first year, but this year, like, of course, there was a big fire at night, and they burned the coffin ramp, and there's just this massive, crazy fire. It was super fun. Then everybody burned the ramps. But I feel like last year it happened organically. Like it just was like, yo, let's burn the ramps. And like we didn't know if it was like okay to do that or not. It was just like this crazy
little bit of rebel in there.
Just rebel, like we're just burning this fucker to the ground, Whereas this year it was like, okay, like that's what we're gonna do. It was like
there were cops there.
No, they were
in the
fine.
Videos. No, but I mean like there. It was like
there's always some cops there. I mean, it's fine.
That's
it's
kind of
become
my
like
point.
a
It's
thing.
like
the cops,
the cops
were
were okay with all
fire
of it.
department
Like,
on call,
Mm-hmm.
versus the actual rebelness of just like we're burning this whole skate park to the ground.
The cops thought it was cool. Is the thing. So you're not a rebel if the cops are like, yeah, dude, go for it.
And maybe it was just me because I experienced it the year before. So like it was like a sequel where they're kind of it was like, oh yeah, I know what's gonna happen. We're gonna burn all this stuff, and it was still amazing. It was awesome. I don't want to talk down about it at all.
No,
but
it still seemed like
year,
it
for
seemed
me,
like
last
the
year
most
was
incredible event.
Right,
but I think we
more
missed
epic.
like
Right.
that
Last year
opportunity to be a peer.
You didn't miss anything, guys. You just got to come this next year and make it the best Swamp Fest.
Dude, we're about to Joy Quota the Swamp Fest real hard for sure.
And there's part of me like because you pushed me, you texted me a couple times like come to Swamp Fest.
Yeah, you blew that opportunity.
Yeah,
I know. Opportunities.
I know. But I thought about it.
I know.
I really did as well. Because Dylan told me
It's
that
just
you guys
like-
were going. I was like, we should go, and I was like, I can't go. Should I go?
Driving from LA to Florida to Orlando-ish.
It was kind of rough, actually.
That
It was
is
rough
a
with the amount of
hike.
time
That is a hike.
we try to do.
2 weeks wasn't enough.
It's not
for
enough.
This drive. And that
Anyone
to me,
planning to
that's-
road trip successfully from California to Florida and back, do at least 3 weeks to make it fun.
3 weeks total.
At least, yeah. Just like enjoy, like have some time to stop and like not drive.
Yeah, where you're not
and
smashing
either
out like
ride
9 hours a day
or
worth of driving.
camp and enjoy. Yeah, it was just so rushed. It felt like. We were traveling comfortable. We had a really nice couch in the van where both sides of the couch were fold out into a recliner, and we were good. Like, so you'd sit in the van and sleep all day. It was good, and we'd party all night.
And it sounds so fun, but honestly, like I pictured is sitting on this couch for 2 weeks, and my back. I've been out for 3 weeks because of my back. I'm like truly, the reason I didn't go is because my back could not take just sitting in the van for 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
I just hear excuses.
Oh,
No,
no,
I'm kidding. I'm
excuse.
kidding. That's a
No,
really good
yeah.
excuse.
No, that's fair.
I don't blame
I've
you.
lived with him the
Excuse.
past
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Well, you can't have a really good time under those circumstances, you know.
And
I mean, I had a good
just-
time in Mexico on crutches, but you know.
Oh, shots fired.
Oh, shots fired.
In all fairness, I think that's another point of the zoom out theory, right? Is sometimes you have to miss the opportunity to make the right call.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty of times I've missed an opportunity, but it was 100% the right call. And at the time, I felt like almost like shame of like, I can't believe I didn't pull the trigger on this.
Yeah.
And then looking back, you're like, I'm so
Yeah,
glad that I did the
You'll
right
never
thing.
know though until.
And I took care of my body and like, because if
Yeah, take care of your body
Yeah,
first.
so,
Number
like,
one.
all that kind of stuff where you're like, man, I feel like maybe I blew it and I didn't take care of the opportunity. Same thing goes back to zoom out and be like, I'm going to be so grateful that now I'm healed up, or now because I missed out on that opportunity, I found a different one.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing though. Like my back didn't hurt at the time. I said no, but I just envisioned my back being destroyed.
What?
So you used the law of attraction to bring that back into your life.
That's true.
You
That is
straight up
actually
secreted that
100%.
into your
Yes.
life.
That's true.
That's
is
hilarious.
Very fair. Yeah. I have nothing to say. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, that's what's so wild, I feel like, about everyone at this table right now is there's nothing more shameful than missing an opportunity at this table. Like all of us could forgive like a horrific transgression against the other. All of us could absolutely be like, dude.
Yeah, but when you miss something, it
but
just
like if
eats
you
at
miss
you.
something,
You
it's just like, oh, that's we've talked about it before. We won't get back into it, but that's how I feel about Dylan riding the bull and me not riding the bull. I was there that day, and I'm again looking back. I made what was the right call, and I didn't hop on the bull. But looking back, filled with shame that I didn't hop on the bull. That's what eats me. Is I was there, I had the shot, but I think that's so unique about everyone at this table right now is we're all so compelled. Like it's not even like a conscious choice. We're all genuinely compelled because we've just trained ourselves or grew up in an environment that pushed us to reach the limits, and nothing is worse than missing an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alex, you can never move here because if the three of us, this triangle of insanity, were like a always on thing.
Yeah, I definitely have
Nothing
a
would
lot of,
get done.
I
We would all die.
have a few friends like that around the country where it's like we have so much love for each other. When we hang out, we have like the most insane time, but it's good because it's limited. You know, it's like, okay, and then now I'm going back to where I live, or you going back to where you live. And it's like, wow, if we hung out all the time together, we would just die. We would just never stop because we just push each other.
Absolutely.
That is 100% fact. We would. Gavin has a wife, so he'd probably be fine. He'd be able to say no. I
someone to
feel
keep
like-
you in check.
Dude,
Yeah.
real talk, Allie's like genuinely saved my life in that matter where now I can actually have a bit of, because I get to think of someone other than myself for the first time.
Well, that's
It's
why they
just
say, what do they say? Like, that's why, never mind, lost my thought.
It's all good. We'll get back there. But yeah, that's really like the only thing that's ever allowed me to step outside of the like F it mentality of I'm here, I'm going to do it. Because I'm like, actually, I have this other person that I get to think about. And it's given me a lot of ability to step back in a moment and make the right choice, for sure. Well, and we're all going to wave to Dylan. Yeah, I think that's so true, though, how if you're around this type of energy constantly, it's almost as bad for you as being around the type of
can.
energy that's scared of everything all the time always. It's just a different kind of evil, right?
Well, you have to learn to like recharge your batteries, you know, because it's easy to go. And that's kind of what happened to me. Like I went to Vegas and, you know, obviously partied, had a great time in Vegas all weekend, and then went straight into this Swamp Fest road trip. Yeah. And, you know, eventually it was just like, wow, like I need to relax, get some R&R, you know, just, you know, so that way you could continue having the best time.
Do you almost need, because I've found, at least for me personally, because I'm also like incredibly extroverted, I feed off of other people's energy a lot. Like if I'm around other people, I genuinely like don't need food or water or like sleep.
You could just live on momentum.
I just live on like, we're doing it together.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like, so big part of this year, Allie, again, thanks to her, I've been scheduling time to not be around people for that exact reason. Is like, I will go until I'm 100% exhausted and I've genuinely broken myself.
Yeah.
And for like multiple days, I can't get out of bed and I'm almost like depressed because I'm just like so out of energy.
Yeah.
And
well,
my body starts
you got to
breaking
stay
down
balanced,
and I'm
you know?
so beat up. And it's so funny how we almost need people in our lives to pull us back to being solitary creatures and like taking care of us as individuals, in a sense of like, we don't need to be a part of this giant group accomplishing a mission. We can just go spend time, quiet time by ourselves,
relaxing,
doing nothing with no goals, no plans, versus we get to be the opposite for others, like what you guys were for Dylan when he moved to California. We're going to pull you out of that and bring you into community and into this chaos so that you can kind of spend some of that energy you've been recouping.
Yeah, definitely very important to rest. It's a hard lesson, you know, growing up as a energetic, wild young man, you know, who just wants to take on the world, you know, to learn how to rest. I'm still learning. I'm 29. I'm still trying to learn that, you know, still pushing myself past.
When you were a kid, do you remember anything specific of like doing something crazy for the first time or like deciding you were going to live your life in this certain way?
It was always in me. When I was in the 4th grade, I got a snowboard for Christmas, which I didn't ask for. You know, it was totally unexpected. And I think that really brought out the adrenaline-seeking part of me. So that was cool. But it was always in me. Like, I remember being on the playground in, like, 1st grade, and everyone would climb up the playground and slide down the slide. And I would climb to the top of that and then jump off, you know, like repeatedly. You know? And like looking back, like nobody does that. And I don't know why I did. It was just, that was like the only natural thing for me to do, to have fun. So I was always like, it was always in me. But the snowboard definitely like set me on a course to extreme sports, and not only extreme sports, but everything that comes with extreme sports, like, you know, self-expression and being unique, being yourself, freestyle, you know. Freestyle living, you know, like freestyle doesn't end when you put the bike or skateboard or snowboard down, you know, it continues throughout your whole day, throughout your whole life. But I don't know. I mean, I always saw myself like, and then we'll say middle school into high school, when you start like kind of becoming who you are. I don't know why, or I don't think there was any specific thing that set me on a course, but I just always loved the idea of kind of living free. You know, being close to nature.
Kind of untethered.
Untethered, yeah. I mean, and I don't know if it was just like the idea. I think it was, like I said, it was just in me always. Like, you know, and then you attract yourself like to certain music, like Bob Dylan and, you know, Johnny Cash. These people who sing of, you know, being on the road and the good and bad that comes with it. And you're just always traveling, always moving. And I just always knew deep down I had this kind of nomad soul.
Hearing that, I wonder if I bet there's probably, you can trace like certain personality traits to genomes. I bet there's probably like a nomad genome that's interesting. Like, I guarantee someplace on the internet you could literally track down where someone's been like, if you have this genome, you're probably more likely to be like called to that nomad. Because part of me wants that for sure. And then I'm like, I think everybody entertains that idea in some aspects, you know, like the idea of just traveling and being free. But it's weird. And I meet a lot of other people who live a similar lifestyle. You know, everyone's doing it for different reasons. Like sometimes it's like they're looking for something, you know, there's like this emptiness that they're trying to fill, whether it's like with friends or who they are or like where they belong. I never really feel like I was like that. I just like, I feel, you know, I have good friends everywhere. I feel at home everywhere as long as I'm with, you know, people I care about. But I just have this burning desire to experience. It's like it's because I love life so much, you know. Like I just want to just
suck the life out of this world in every single day, every single minute. So I just love experiencing and traveling to new places and going to new things,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and a lot of good things come with it. A lot of bad things come with it. You have to make a lot of sacrifices to live the life that I live. A lot. But yeah, it's all good.
So tell us about some of your travels. Like, what are some of your favorite places that you've been?
I would say India is a favorite place. It's just so different than our world that we live in. And that's what attracts me, It's just I want the craziest, I want to get dropped off somewhere where I'm like so out of my element because it's just so exciting.
That's the most exciting kind of adventure where you're genuinely out of your element and you're in way over your head.
Every single day if you do a trip like this, whether you're backpacking or whatever, if you drop yourself into a situation like this, you're just on full, you're just firing on all cylinders every second of the day.
Because you have to be.
You're just full awareness, sights, smells, actions, just everything is just so stimulating. And I love that, and you come back here to America, and even if you have like a really good day that's stimulating, there's still like all these down times that you're just like, like the normalcy. And like, I don't like those parts,
Totally. I mean, we literally just did an adventure day where we went snowboarding, snow biking on a snow bike we'd literally just made and never really ridden except for a couple minutes one time. And then went and rode BMX afterwards and threw a surprise birthday party for a friend. And there were parts of that day where I was like, it was a pretty average, boring day. Versus like
normal.
You could literally just be like, I was in India and I ordered food and it was the craziest day of my life.
That's it. The simplest things. Or like, especially in India, you could just leave your front door, I stay in hostels, and just walk down the street. Or you don't even have to walk anywhere. You could just stand at the front door and just observe what's happening in the street and be blown away. Like, holy crap, what is happening right now? And that was so cool. Just so stimulating to all your senses. It makes you feel alive. It's a similar thing to doing something gnarly on a bike and getting that adrenaline rush. It makes you feel alive. So yeah, India is cool. I mean, I've been a lot of places in Southeast Asia. Last year was a good travel year for me. I did a lot of BMX traveling. I went to South Africa for a couple contests. I went to England, did a little layover in Ireland, which was cool, unexpected. That was really fun. Where else did I go? I went to Australia and Brazil.
The Philippines was last year as well, right? That wasn't BMX.
My Philippines trip, I went to the Philippines too. That was in January. That was in the beginning of the year. That was just a backpacking trip. And then of course I'm always going to Mexico to surf, just down in Baja, for like weekends or week-long trips. So yeah, I went a lot of places last year. It was a good travel trip.
Yeah. Well, I think you've set yourself up specifically to live that life in a different way than most people, because you live in a fully built up van.
Yeah, and you have to. Yeah, and when people are like, "Oh, you're lucky," like, no, like this has been years in the making of specifically living my life to get to this, because I mean, you can just do it with the snap of your fingers, but I mean, it's hard.
It's hard.
I was gone.
Cut down on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and and even for me still, like it's hard to do that. It's a learning process. But yeah, I was gone at least 7 months out of the year last year, away, like pretty much overseas. Like out of or just away from California. And it takes a lot to get to that point. But like I knew that I wanted that, and like I said, you make a lot of sacrifices with like possessions or stability or relationships.
That was the one thing that kept, because I've always, like I said, I still find myself like really drawn, like every time I see someone who's just like more along your lines of genuinely nomadic and like whatever they want to do that day, they're going to try and just make that happen. Mm-hmm. Every time I'm like, man, that sounds good. And the only reason I wasn't able, or I'm not, like every time the thing that pulls me back is realistically, like I'm not going to be able to sever ties with like all of the friendships I have.
You don't have to sever. In
certain places. Sever's maybe the wrong word, but like I wouldn't
definitely wrong
be
word.
willing. Yeah, sever's probably dramatic. because I did that for a while climbing cell phone towers, and I made really, really good money, but I was just road dogging it. And I wasn't able to cut
out there
the
alone.
connection of spending like every single night with a different set of friends that I've created versus I think you've developed an immunity to that moment where you're like, oh, I'm just going to spend tonight by myself. That's okay. Like I wasn't able to build up that immunity.
Well, but going back to the extrovert personality, I don't know. I don't feel like you spend that many nights just solo. You're always like doing something with somebody.
Most of the time, always doing something. Yeah, I mean, there are times though, like usually wintertime, when I get back, I don't travel as much. And I'm like hanging out. It's cold. You're like, I'm living in a van. And you're not doing anything, and you can get a little lonely or bored. But I always tell myself like, and sometimes I'll be like, man, this sucks. I miss house. I miss roommates. Even if you're not talking to your roommate, just being in the same room.
Being around another person's
makes
energy.
you feel good. I'm just, man, this sucks. I'm miserable. I don't like this. Can't wait till, things happen in the future. But, I just tell myself like, this might be like a downtime, but I'm going to have a whole bunch of really good up times, just chill, know that that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just
fine.
A unique set of choices that comes with its own reality.
And learning to be by yourself is an important thing, I think. And not just being by yourself, but enjoying being by yourself is an important thing.
Well, and I feel like it's important to be able to appreciate the roller coaster. Like that's something I still struggle with.
Yes.
Is like I always want to be going up and doing the next thing and all this.
But it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
And the higher your highs, the lower the lows, is everything's balanced.
And especially, like some of the stuff that I like to do now, like if I'm not doing something at the most extreme, I just like start feeling so depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to like pull back and look at it like, you're not depressed. You're just like not doing something right now. Just like chill, and it'll be fine.
Yeah. Life's a roller coaster, and I struggle with it too because I'll go on month-long trips. Like last year, I went from England for a week straight to Woodward East for a week, straight to X Games for a week. This all lasted like a month and a half, and you're talking pinned all the time, just having the most amazing time every single day with awesome new friends, awesome old friends, just having the time of your life. And then, you get back and you're not doing anything. And I get into the post-trip blues hard sometimes, really hard. And that's the hard part to deal with, having fun's easy. But dealing with that low end, but you have to, like you said, appreciate the roller coaster, appreciate those ups and downs because they're waves.
If you don't have that,
always,
then you're not going to feel anything.
Yeah, if you don't have that, you're just going,
pinned,
you're working that 9 to 5 every single day.
Well, even if you're doing the craziest stuff and it's always high, you're going to get immune to that, and then it's going to be...
Yeah, you're going to crash, but if you get immune to that, then...
redline your engine the whole day, all day, every day, eventually the engine's just going to blow up.
You're going to crash eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to learn that. Like, we're still learning that.
I feel like I've gotten
coming off this injury of the past, like for 3 weeks, I couldn't move basically, and I was the most depressed I've ever been.
Oh, dude, try like a couple months bedridden, man. It's tough.
I can't even imagine. And trying to put myself in that, it's like, okay, it's not that big a deal.
Talking about your back injury, you were talking about how you realized everything you like doing is so physically active. Since you are in this lifestyle where you're using your body a lot, and this is going to happen again, to you, Dylan.
Yeah.
Like it happens to all of us where you're laid up, you can't do anything because you injured yourself. It's very important to find a hobby that, you can do while injured, while laid up, whatever it is, music, drawing, art. I don't know. A hobby that's
Something
not Netflix. That's not a hobby.
Your brain, yeah.
Instagram and Netflix. That's not a hobby.
It's so hard though because when you're.
It is hard.
For me though, like.
We're active people. That's what we do.
And then when I can't do it, I get so down that like, there's things that I would like to do that I just won't won't do. So I'm like,
No, yeah,
I-
same. Yeah, because you're
man,
kind of in this
I don't
funk. You're in
feel
this
like
kind
it.
of low
I don't feel
down,
like doing
depressed
anything.
funk.
Yeah, I'm depressed. I
It's-
just want to watch
it's happened to me.
Netflix and do this.
Yeah.
And
I
just want to kind of sit
it's
in
so
space.
unproductive.
Yeah, and
But it's
I'll
hard
even
to
have calls,
say.
be like, hey, you want to go do this? And I'm just like,
Nah.
just nah.
Sounds like a lot of effort.
yeah, too much effort, you know.
I feel like one step further than just like appreciating that life has ups and downs. I've gotten to a place where it's certainly not all of the time, but as often as I can consciously like remind myself to be in this place of I'm going to be grateful for the lows because so because I'm in this weird 6-pack challenge is like a weird analogy. I'll go like a couple days of eating like super, super clean. And then that day when I'm not going to eat clean is just the greatest day. Like it's the best thing ever. And I'm just smashing all my favorite foods and ice cream, all this stuff. And then like when that hungry feeling hits where I'm just like, all right, you went and enjoyed yourself for a weekend. Now it's time to get back on the grind. And I feel myself thinking like, oh God, I'm hungry or like whatever it is.
Here's my advice.
I feel like grateful of like, oh, I'm looking forward to how great this is going to make the next adventure instead of wallowing in like, so transferring that to life of every time I'm going through a real rough patch in life, taking just a quick second to zoom out and be like, I'm so grateful for how amazing the next high is going to feel because I'm experiencing this low.
Yeah,
because like when I broke my collarbone and I was out for months and months and months and months and I was like, as soon as I can do a tail whip, that is going to be the best feeling in the world. And waiting months and months and months before I could finally comfortably pedal my bike again and all that stuff, like taking it from just appreciating that it serves its purpose to really being grateful for how much that's going to play into how great the next moment's going to be when you finally get back onto the high, because it is a roller coaster. It's going to go back up and appreciate.
Yeah, know that it's going to go back up. Yeah, that's cool.
And I'm certainly not perfect by any means. I get frustrated all the times of like, I'm not this or that, but just appreciating like, wow. I get to be grateful that I'm in a low spot because that just means I'm this much closer to a high. Like it's not going to go downhill forever, just like it's not going to go uphill forever. Yeah. While he's pouring a drink, getting it going, I think this is actually
tequila time.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I was
guys.
going to say, we can make a quick little moment out of the fact that this is a rare time for us because most of the time we're the ones who are like, yeah, all we drink is tequila, and everyone else is like, oh, I'll take like a beer or something. I feel like we are
I was
in a
born
place.
with tequila in my veins.
Yeah, I feel like we've
Life fuel.
One more
Rocket
thing
fuel. Let's
we've
go.
all come together on is like tequila brothers.
One
forever.
day there'll be a Joy Quota tequila.
Dude,
One day.
That'd be cool.
Yes.
Joy Quota brand tequila.
Ooh, I like that. We'll get that on the vision board.
Let's start tomorrow.
Yeah, dude.
I'll
I've
go down to
actually-
Mexico. I'll find the
Agave plants.
I'll find the.
We're all going down
source.
to Mexico.
You're right. What was I thinking? Well, yeah, obviously. Well, we're taking my van down to Mexico.
Yes.
We're gonna do a sweet
Yeah.
I'll bring the hammock. I'll camp outside.
mainland. Oh yeah, that's the way you do. That's what you do.
Dude.
Camp outside. The
Heck
van.
yeah.
The van finally got named. The van's name is
What?
Fiona.
Fiona.
What
Van.
a great
Fiona.
name.
Fiona's a good name, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Van.
It was probably a year and a half before you.
It's been a while. I've had the van for over 2 years
2
now.
years.
Wow.
Which is crazy to think about, that I've been living in a van for over 2 years.
That's pretty
not,
awesome.
Not paying rent and all this. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Right, you're fully doing it. You're not like saying.
Yeah, like I bought this cool van, but
'Cause
really
there's
I
plenty of
still have
people
like
that-
a house that I live
Hey,
at. from
everyone's
time
on
to
their own
time.
path. It's
no,
fine.
it's totally
There's
fine. Like
Totally
no,
different levels of
like, there
van
should
life.
be-
And like, the true van life, I'd consider myself not even doing, because that's like when you have somehow figured out a way to make money on the road, or maybe you just quit everything and you're just traveling, and you're nonstop traveling in your van. Where, I always gravitate back to home base, which is Huntington Beach. So I do have like that permanent place where I'm living in a van, and living in a van in a city sometimes is really not that much fun. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's not
That's a
it's
good
not that
point.
much fun. When you're out camping, you're traveling around, going to beautiful places on this planet, awesome.
Yeah, and you're a lot closer to nature versus like when
Right.
you're just like the dude who hasn't showered in a couple of
Right,
days.
and you're like parked on some street,
Yeah.
and you're like, you gotta like close the windows and kind of hide and make sure no one sees you in there. You know, it's not necessarily that fun. But you know, anytime I'm in that situation, I just tell myself like, I do a lot of flying in international backpacking trips and stuff like this. So yeah, if I'm ever holed up in a city and I'm like, oh, this is lame. Like, well, I'm saving money. The money that I would have spent on my rent is now going into that next trip. So it's good.
Yeah, being grateful for the purpose at serving.
Right.
Well, and some of the times we've had in Mexico have been.
Let's talk
the
about some of
best
that
and
last.
wildest.
How about that last trip?
It's a pretty wild trip from what
It
it,
was
sounds
a pretty
like.
wild trip.
It was a wild trip. So I'm so grateful that you are who you are, Dylan, because Dylan will call me and be like, hey, I'm thinking about coming to California. I'm like, sweet. When? He's like, how about next weekend? I'm like, yep, I'm not doing anything. Book it. Done. All right. And then like a week later, he's here.
Yeah.
You know, and pick him up at the airport, and then it's just a whirlwind of good times. And yeah, so what did we do? We
So
went down to
what-
Mexico, Rosarito,
Yeah, this was Labor Day weekend. Yeah,
which I didn't even know.
Well, yeah, you living
When you don't work, you tend to not realize
Yeah.
when holidays are. 'Cause-
living
Hey,
show
I wouldn't
life,
say-
you don't know what
say
any
you don't
day
work.
is.
You work plenty. You don't have a job because jobs are lame.
Yeah, okay. So I work. I make
Jobs
money. I
serve
just
their
don't
own
have a
purpose.
job.
I'm not gonna shit on anyone with a job because, in all honesty,
No, yeah, for
You
sure.
love your job. If you love
Yeah.
your job, it's fine.
We're just saying. So it's unfair to say he doesn't work because he works.
yeah, he's living the show
He
life.
doesn't have a job.
In the like the BMX.
Yeah,
life.
so we went down, and so my goal, anytime, I just want to surf. Like when I lived in Huntington, since I was in
Yeah. this is a
7 years
long time.
old, since I was 7 years old, all I wanted to do was surf. So I eventually moved to Huntington, learned how to surf, and then have to move back here. And so now all I want to do is surf. So I go out there and take surf trips in Alex's van. And so we go down
Fiona.
with Fiona. She wasn't named that at the time.
Ah,
And
that's awesome.
Well, first of all, I'm on crutches. I can't
right,
walk.
Alex has ruined his knee in Brazil,
Yeah.
so he can't
Those are
walk
nuts,
or
Jones.
or surf. Kind of. We went out surfing in San Diego.
No, I didn't. I couldn't walk.
Maybe you didn't.
No, I definitely didn't.
See, that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sign
yeah.
sign
You're
of
right.
like a true BMX homie is someone who's willing to like stand by while the other person
No,
has
yeah,
a good
you-
time.
'Cause, you and
No, it was
Toby-
rough. Like, cause you had already booked your flight. I'm pretty sure, and it was kind of like,
No.
No?
You had told me like, "Hey, I hurt my knee, but come if you want." And I was like, "I don't have any other
yeah.
plans. Let's
Yeah.
do
We
it."
still had a great time. I struggled through a lot of it, though, to be honest. Like, I worked really hard because, I mean, if I had my way, I would have just laid in bed that whole weekend and just recovered my knee
Yeah.
and done nothing, you know?
But then you had because Toby was there too.
And Toby, by
So-
the way, is my friend from Austria who I met. This is kind of a cool story. This is like a BMX story. I met Toby in South Africa last year.
Okay.
You know, he's just a BMX
contests.
rider. Yeah,
Yeah.
doing contests. Like, hey, man, you're pretty cool. And we hung out the whole time in South Africa. And then I was like, hey, dude, like, you should go to this contest in Brazil. I'm going. You know, a dirt contest. He's a dirt rider. So next time I saw him was in Brazil. And then I convinced him to come to America with me afterwards and do like a 2-week road trip. I think it turned into like 3 weeks. So it's just kind of cool how BMX brings you together. Like, you know, I met this Austrian kid in South Africa, then I met him in Brazil, and then we're traveling around the United States.
Yeah, that BMX family just is all inherently just so afraid of missing out. Right? Like
we all
that.
have FOMO for
I remember
sure.
Dylan telling me like the week of, like, hey man, I'm gonna leave on like Thursday night, go out to Huntington. We're gonna go drive down to Mexico with Alex, and like my first thought was like, well, I just gotta tell the wife like peace because I'm
you better
clearly
come next
going.
time.
Yeah,
We need you.
Yeah.
We need you out there, Gavin. But yeah. So anyway, so Toby's with me. I don't know if this was. I think this is the end of our road trip, because we had traveled around the states for like 3, or maybe it was the beginning.
It's the middle.
I have no
Beginning or
idea.
middle, yeah.
Because we did Sequoias, Grand Canyon.
I'm
we went all
about
over.
that.
But anyways, we picked you up. We went down to Mexico. Who was? Oh, it was Rick Ross was playing.
No, well,
In
What?
Rosarito.
you just gave away the highlight of the story.
Well, tell the story
So we
then.
go to.
Dude, we're just gonna Quentin Tarantino this.
Yeah,
Don't worry
all
about
right,
it.
that's the end of the story. The beginning of the story is we drive down into Rosarito, which to me is just
It's just
a
Rosarito. Yeah.
shanty town. Like
It's a touristy
on
bullshit town, but it's
Baja.
fun. It's fun.
But yeah, there's some bars and stuff, and it is Labor Day weekend, probably Saturday night.
Yeah, there's mayhem going on the beaches.
Relative mayhem. It was nothing too crazy.
Nothing crazy, but it was just so wild that you're on the beach in Rosarito, and the clubs, like Papas and Beer and the other
Yeah.
clubs like that are blasting like US like club music,
Yeah, it's all
but
top
then-
40 stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you have like these mariachi bands and these like local bands on the
Yeah.
beach as well. There's probably like I think 5 of them from where I could see where I'm sitting playing their local music, and there's just like this clash of sounds and fireworks and just tons of people. So yeah,
Right,
it was
and
cool.
It was cool,
It
but
was a good
it was
festival.
also like we go to one bar at like sunset, and they charge us like $20 for a horrible margarita, and we're like, this sucks. Like, this is awful. Let's grab a bottle of tequila and we go back to the van for a while, and we just hang out and drink and talk, and then maybe 11 o'clock we're like, all right, let's try and go out and see what
Fiona
happens.
is a good time for pre-gaming.
Yeah, and we had a great time, and then we're like, let's try and go out and see what happens. And then we go to this club, which it is famous, but I'm unfamiliar. It's called Papas and Beer, and we have to wait in line for a while, and we get to the front of the line, and then they want $30 to go into this club, and we're like,
That's hard pass.
yeah, like that's a lot for a town where you can get tacos for like $3 and.
Like a full plate of
Yeah,
tacos.
enough tacos
Yeah.
to not need
They're
any more
about
tacos.
A bottle of
85 cents a
tequila
piece.
is like
Yeah.
$5 or whatever, and they want $30 to go into this, and then they're like, "Well, Rick Ross is playing." We're like,
$30 is
I'm
a
like,
great
I don't
ticket price.
I don't
for
even
Rick
really
Ross.
know
I
any
don't
of
know
his
who that
songs.
is.
Like I know who it is. I know
I
who
know
it is.
one song.
I know
It
one
was-
But
song.
like this will
but
be a story.
This will
Let's
be a story.
go. Yeah.
We're going.
Yeah,
we're
gonna
going.
go see
And
Rick
so
Ross
we go
down in
in,
Mexico.
We go in and it's actually like one of the biggest like beach bar
Nightclubs, yeah.
clubs things ever. I mean, it's thousands of people,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's
Yeah,
many levels.
If you want to
many
party south of the
areas.
border in Baja, that's the place to go.
Yeah, it turns out that's the place to go, which I didn't know, and we found out. And Alex had been like leading us because that's what he does, but he was on crutches, and so
it's really hard to do that.
yeah,
on
I mean that's
crutches.
just Alex's thing.
And
It's
I'm in pain. Like going a block is not only hurting my knee, but it's tiring. It's really exhausting on the good leg. It's exhausting on your arms.
Yeah.
Like I have to stop every once in a while to just like, I'm like, yeah, it was rough. Like, but anyways.
anyway.
The life
so
of the
he-
party gene carries
Yeah,
its own
he's
set of
life of the
problems,
partying,
yeah.
but then he's like over it, and so he turns to me and was like, "I'm sick of leading. You lead." So I'm like, "All right,
That is
deal."
a bold choice.
And within 5 feet, there's this VIP section. So I just like walk us right into the VIP section.
Yes.
The guard had happened to walk away, walking us into the VIP section. There's the dude that had bought the bottle or whatever. We're like, "What's up, dude?" Give him a high five, and he just starts like pouring us shots.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then Rick Ross comes on. Every day,
Every day I'm muscling.
He put on a good
Yeah, as
show.
we're in
I was psyched on it.
on like this balcony, second floor, drinking tequila shots that were free from this random dude.
Jeez.
It was so
We had a good time.
yeah, it was a good time, and then
Then
other
I think
stuff happened.
Yeah, I think we drove to a camping spot that night.
Yeah, that's the best part of going vanning in Baja is you can camp anywhere.
Pretty much anywhere, yeah.
You drive to the top of a mountain.
I'm not a
and
huge
then-
fan of the fact that you just talked about how you just drank free tequila
No,
shots.
we're skipping.
Oh
that.
no, we had
drove to the top of a mountain.
we had a driver.
We had a driver. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't remember
Children,
driving.
don't do what they do.
No, we had a driver.
In
There was a
Mexico,
DD.
it's legal, so it's
No,
fine.
it's not. You could actually get a DUI in Mexico just as easily as in the States for any of you guys listening. So
or
don't
more
drink and drive
importantly,
in
you can drive
Mexico
off
or
the
in the
side of a
States.
mountain.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Fiona has a spirit of her own, and she drives.
She drives.
She
This
takes
was-
over the wheel.
This was multi-hour
She takes
trip.
care of it.
This was a multi-hour
This-
trip at.
No,
4
it
in
was
the
like
morning.
45 minutes.
It was a long ways.
Oh, wait,
At
from
4 in the morning.
Rosarito. Oh, no, actually, no. We camped on top of a mountain. I don't know where we camped, actually.
On top
I
of a
don't know.
mountain in a neighborhood that had been abandoned 50
Oh,
years
yeah,
ago.
okay. Yeah, it was about 45 minutes, I think.
Wow,
It was a hike at 4 in the morning. But either way.
dude, sounds like a hell
The
of
next
a
day we
story.
got up and did ninja kicks on top of abandoned houses in
Yeah.
this neighborhood.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
top of
there was a
mountain. So it
donkey.
was sick.
There was a donkey
Yeah.
there watching your ninja kicks.
Yeah.
Dude, about to
That
get
was a good
donkey
time.
kicked.
And that's the best thing about Mexico is every time I go down, something new happens unexpected. I mean, and traveling in general, you can't plan for everything, you know? Like, and every time I go down to Baja, I've been so many times, but you just go with like an open mind of where to go, what to do, and just something crazy happens, something different happens, you know, as long as you're open to it. And there's just always unexpected things, you know, that happen. That's why I love it. It's so much more of an adventure than being like, hey, let's go down to San Diego. Like, if I go down to San Diego, I know what's going to happen. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Do you feel
You
like
can have
that's
fun, but-
something that you've developed? Because I'm always fascinated by the difference between skill and talent, right? Like there are people who have just raw talent,
Mhm.
and then there are people who've built skills. And a lot of times you can use whatever you're talented at as a good base. But do you think that's a skill to be open-minded enough to just like,
you can be.
yeah, we're going to go out and just
You
experience
could learn anything.
whatever happens instead of, I guess I know people
Instead
who
of just do it
their
naturally.
plan, like they're like, yeah, I went on like this crazy sporadic vacation and realistically like they never even left the resort in Mexico, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, you could learn anything. You can learn anything as a skill. And sometimes like that, you could, like you said, like natural talent, or you develop the skill. Sometimes you develop the skill and it turns into just natural, you know, like.
yeah, sometimes you pick up a skill or you learn a skill and then it kind of uncovers an accidental talent where you're like, oh wow, it turns out I'm really great at this or that. I wouldn't have known if I hadn't tried getting good at this or that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to try getting good at a lot of things, you know? Like, for instance, like you said I'm very outgoing. Like, I'm a people person. I could talk to a lot of people. Like, you could put me in a room full of strangers and I could, you know.
Yeah, we're all hugging by the time I leave that space.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I wasn't always like that. I wasn't. Like, that was a skill that I decided that I wanted to learn. And I was like, hey, I want to be able to be that
Did
guy.
we just become best friends? I love that because
You
I'm
know?
the same way.
And it took a long time to learn. And it wasn't that I wasn't outgoing, but I really just didn't care to meet people. Or I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like when you meet people.
Yeah, you made a conscious choice of I'm
meet-
going to learn how to
how to
use
be more
people skills
outgoing
and how
be
to
more. Yeah.
create friends
Yeah.
and
And that's a very, very important skill to have. Like, in life, you know, for, you know, to make good friends and good relationships, but also for networking and anything, like being able, you know, people skills, most important thing you could have in life. 1,000 times
Yes.
more important than any college degree, in my opinion.
amen.
But yeah, I definitely made a conscious decision to start developing that skill.
That's crazy.
And yeah, I've come a long way. And I will never consider myself like finished, you know? Like,
That's
you're
what's so
always-
wonderful about
yeah,
it.
you're always,
If there was a goal line, it wouldn't be interesting.
yeah, you're always
It's kind of
like
like
pushing
BMX.
yourself.
There's always a new way that you can ride, or a new place you can try a trick, or a new ramp that you've never
Yeah,
ridden.
it's another
or-
challenge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's important to push yourself to like develop those skills, or like other skills similar to it. And you know, when you meet new people, you present yourself with new opportunities. You know.
Yeah. Do you remember what made you think like, oh, I want to become good at being good at people or good with people?
I don't remember any specific moment, but just kind
Or
of
like
like the
that
thought of
moment of-
realizing that like, you know, more friends, new people, more friends, more opportunities, you know, more experience, more life, you know, more living life.
That's awesome.
You know, like if you live your whole life, you know, sitting at home on a couch watching TV, like you're not, you know, there's no opportunities there for you. You know, what opportunities are going to come knocking out your door if you're just sitting there, you know?
Dude, I love so much that you made a conscious choice.
Yeah. And I tell
'cause
people this all the
tell
time.
me
Like
that.
people, they make excuses.
Yeah,
You're Alex Leo Landeros.
Yep.
You can do that. You can go into a room and just make friends. Like I'm not like that. I'm like, I hate hearing that because it's like, yo, I was the same way.
I chose to figure out how to do that.
It took years, and I'm still getting better.
Yeah. People say the same thing to me all the time where they're like, well, yeah, it's you. You went in and, of course, you had a good time. And I'm like, I chose to learn these set of skills. I was impossible when it came to people when I was a kid. I remembered the same thing of like, it is very important to me that I become very good at making friends and making people feel safe and welcome around me to where I can build a community around myself no matter where I'm at.
It's hard though.
It is
Like,
very
super
hard.
hard.
It is very, and I
It's
still
super
have
hard.
days where I can't do it.
For
I'm closed
sure.
off. It happens.
Well,
But,
and I would
Absolutely.
love to learn that at this point, but at this point, it's like,
You're
It's very
unlearning
hard.
habits.
yeah.
I was
it's
lucky
very
enough to
hard.
have that realization in the 8th grade of like,
Exactly. So
if
when
I
you're
don't do this,
13,
I'm not going to figure this out ever. And
yeah,
It took probably 7 years.
I
before
found
anything
the
happened.
most important lesson I ever learned with people skills, is when you enter a room or like you meet new people, first thing you do is introduce yourself and
Yeah.
just say, hey, how are you doing? Because sometimes it's easy to kind of like let it go, and then after you let it go for a little while, then it kind of becomes awkward. Like first, because like
Totally.
if you go into a room, hey, I'm so and so, I'm so and so, I'm so and so, like you kind of like open yourself up to them, and then you'll see the dynamic change.
Yep.
All of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, like he opened himself up to me, like I'll do the same. And whether you talk to them throughout that day or night or whatever, or you don't, doesn't really matter. Like it created that little bond,
Yeah,
and that's
it's
like the
not-
first step of learning people skills is like right away, like get out of your comfort zone, go introduce yourself to
The longer
everybody.
you wait, the more uncomfortable it gets.
Yeah.
The more uncomfortable it gets, the longer you wait, and then all
And
of
then
a sudden
sometimes
it's-
you reach a point where you can't go back,
Yeah,
and then
it's like, oh man, I've spent 4 hours at this party and had 3 conversations with this person, and I don't even know their name, and now it's even more awkward if I
Yeah.
ask versus you just walk in and you're like,
And
everybody,
it's
I'm
hard to
here.
do that though. It's
Yeah.
hard to do that because you're putting yourself out there.
It's vulnerable.
And not,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, you're being vulnerable, but it's very important. And I think the more you do that, your life will only get better.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
I mean, mine has from personal experience.
Yeah, and you'll find yourself awkwardly, or ironically, I guess, but usually through awkwardness.
Yeah.
At least I've found myself and become really certain of who I am because I kept having to make myself vulnerable and like, hi, I'm Gavin. And they're like, well, what are you about? And I'm like, I don't know. I have to figure that out, I guess. And then all of a sudden, before long, all of a sudden I just felt really comfortable in my own skin just because I'd felt so uncomfortable and so vulnerable of all the times of going and shaking someone's hand and like, hi, or just, like you
Yeah.
said, opening yourself up to the point where
Right.
it no longer felt weird or uncomfortable or scary to be open. And then all of a sudden I just recognized my own behaviors like, oh, that's exactly what Gavin would do. And I'm just like, oh, cool, I'm finally being myself around others. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 7-8 years of practice before I really felt comfortable.
You can learn anything. You can learn it. Yeah, some people have it naturally, but you could also learn it, and I suggest you try.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because the people, you guys in particular, that I think it's natural, it was learned from both of you. So
Specifically
Yeah.
and consciously.
yeah,
Yeah. So think about that. Like it didn't come naturally for me,
that's cool.
Yeah, because I've seen you work on it, and like I've seen you come out of that shell we were
Yeah.
talking about, from being the quiet, closed off person with your headphones, with your back to the door, not talking to anybody, and I've seen you work on your people skills, and like imagine if you were still that Dylan that had your headphones today, like would you have the same awesome life, all those awesome experiences? No,
No, absolutely not.
yeah, I mean, like a good life starts with good people in your life, and to find good people in your life, you have to talk to them and make yourself vulnerable to start the conversation.
Yeah. If you wait on someone else to start everything for you, nothing will actually get started because everyone is waiting for someone to start it. That's something I really admire
Yeah.
about Dylan and you is you both have a higher degree of send it than I do. And I think that I have a high degree of send it when it comes to like a cultural perspective. But anytime I'm like, I really don't want to do that, Dylan is the guy. I'm like, all right, Dylan, this is what I'm thinking about doing. He's like, okay, let's do it. And he'll send it. And then once someone has sent it, it opens the door for everyone to.
Yeah.
And it goes the same way for people skills, right? Like all it takes is one person to walk in and be like, hey, I'm Alex. Hey, I'm Alex. Hey, I'm Alex. And before long, everyone's like, oh, well, turns out we can just go like introduce ourselves and go talk and mingle. And before long, it becomes a little tiny community. And it usually only takes one person to start it, whatever it looks like, whether it's a company, whether it's an idea, whether it's literally as simple as like everyone's around a campfire and no one has anything to talk about. And so someone finally just says something and all of a sudden there's a conversation.
Well, that's really interesting because as far as like sending it goes, like in particular, this sledding off the roof thing that we did, like you were very scared to be the first one off the roof, but you lost rock paper scissors.
I
You
won.
rock paper scissors, so you won the opportunity to go first. And I was more excited for you to go first because of how scared you were. And then, so you got that opportunity, and it was so awesome for you. For me, it would have just been whatever. Like I would have done it, and
It's
been
better.
fine.
It's better the more scared you are.
Versus
Yeah.
You get a better
like
reward.
I feel like we could do a better job of like forcing me to send it in these social situations where like when we go to concerts and we're hanging out with these group of girls and like you're always the first one to be like, hey, I'm Gavin, I'm Gavin, I'm Gavin.
Gavin, what you need to do is what I did in Mexico. I was like, yo, I'm sick of leading. Like Dylan.
Trust me, that's already
Yeah.
filed away in here. And secretly I've been doing this for a while. But my way of sending it is like, hi, I'm Dylan, I'm Gavin, and then I just disappear, so that you're just forced to like.
Well, you don't
make the
disappear there. You
connection.
would, like take one step over, and then I'm like, hey, I'm whatever, and then they're like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to Gavin, and it doesn't work so well.
Yeah.
So
part
we
of that
can do
is
a
because
better
I'm a
job
narcissist.
Because
if
like,
we're being honest.
because jumping off the roof in a sled covered in fire doesn't scare me. Going up and talking to someone scares me a million times more than any other quote unquote crazy thing that we could do.
Right. And
Like,
it'll still scare me sometimes. But
yeah.
But you,
Especially if it's
Put-
someone that
put
you like
yourself out
look
there.
up to, or like Dylan was talking about, like, oh, I have to justify why I'm on this tour with all these crazy BMX pros. Like,
see,
I
in my
remember-
opinion, he didn't even have to justify it. He was the most talented videographer in the BMX game.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, you're here.
he was
you know?
undoubtedly the guy for the job. There's no
Yeah.
question.
But I never wanted to be just the videographer.
Yeah, you
I
want to be
think.
part
I
of the
wanted-
gang.
Yeah,
and all that.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted to be the
I wanted to
cheeseburger
fit
man.
in. Yeah.
Cheeseburger.
If that's
Cheeseburger
what I am,
Taze.
I'd rather be
That's
the
not what you
taser
are.
guy,
That's
but
not-
yeah, if I'm the cheeseburger guy. That's the thing.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point, though, that everyone kind of has their own place where they need to be forced to go send it. And
Right.
I think that a lot of times, at least me personally, maybe Alex can relate to this, is someone who is naturally, or not natural. Now it feels natural because I've trained myself and developed such a skill that it feels comfortable. In the same way that like a tail whip feels natural, but it's not. It's just something I've learned. I almost will like you said, I'll take a couple steps back, or I'll disappear for like 15 minutes, and then I'll come back to be like, hey, how's everything going? Like, can I grease the wheels a little bit in any way and like provide some sort of social safety line instead of just like, you're leading now, go for it. And I think that's an area where I can improve is not being the center of attention. I'm far more. Yeah,
That's gonna be.
In all
harder than-
seriousness, we did something on our
harder.
podcast with JT and Kim where I literally just had to sit here for X amount of minutes completely silent.
1 minute.
It was
1
more
minute,
than one.
and then he barely made it.
That
But
is,
either way.
but
let's get back to Alex, our guest.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I
We've been
guess that was
talking
my
about
point. Is like,
ourselves.
do you
We've
think
been
that
talking
it's the
about ourselves for a
same
while.
way of like, because you're naturally someone who provides that social lubricant of like you're the first person to say hi to everyone there.
Try to be.
I
still try to be. It still doesn't come natural. I still have to like make that conscious decision, like walking into a room and be like, okay, I need to do this. You know.
Yeah, let's get this over with. I'm gonna say hi to everybody.
And then it's such a relief after you do that. You know, it's such a relief. But you know, I had a thought. You asked me like, at what point did I start becoming like a adventure seeker, traveler type of person? I couldn't really tell you. I told you about like the playground thing. I have actually sled off of my roof of the house I grew up when I was in like the 5th grade or something like that. And looking back on it, it's really funny because I was we used to have these like hedges, these bushes in my front yard that were like a foot and a half tall.
Yeah.
You know? And it snowed a whole bunch, like a foot and a half. So they were covered in snow. And we had a really mellow roof. And I was sledding off of it all day long. This is back when you're a kid, you don't get hurt. So picture
you're just made of rubber.
Picture
like an 8-foot drop to
roof,
flat.
8-foot drop basically to flat. Like you had some cushion like the first 3 times. But I don't know. I just remember this. And I remember going to school the next day and telling everybody I knew, like, this is so fun. I had so much fun. Someone's got to come. And like I convinced one friend to come with me and do it the next day. But of course the snow was all matted down, you know?
Yeah.
It hurt a little bit more the next day.
I remember same thing. I would go out, action sports my life away, get real hyped up, and bring one person who wasn't supposed to be a part of action sports into the fold of like trying to drag them into it. Like you.
Well, you also forget that like they're a complete beginner and you've been doing it for a while, and like so you're like, oh yeah, do this, it's easy. You forget that like. That easiness was like 4 years of progression to that point.
Yeah, you'd been jumping off of playgrounds for 7 years.
So for me, sledding off a roof, I'm like, this is sick. I'll do it. I did it repeatedly, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we even, there was a time where we sent my little cousins sledding off a cliff. And it, like we were adults. We had done it a million times.
Yeah, we were they in our 20s.
I mean, they're my like, I don't know what you call it, like very young cousins, second cousins, whatever you want to call it, like 8 years old, and send them off this cliff, and they're like,
"Go,
dude!" It was like they were 7-foot cliff. They were sending it.
They were so into it, and they
made of rubber.
Like, oh, literally, because they would like go off this cliff and somehow like end up backflipping and like land
full scorpion
on their heads and it. And then get up just laughing and cheering that they made it, and it was the best time for them. And
we're sitting here talking about sledding, and it's snowing.
It's
fairly heavily
I'm eyeballing
outside,
the parking lot, waiting for no.
I just got about a 1/4 inch though. We need a little bit more.
It's starting to formulate on the ground. I hope we get the sleds out.
Oh,
dude, and
after
I'm
this.
so down for a snow bike adventure. I technically have tomorrow and Friday off. Technically,
if you want.
Nice.
I had booked this time off long before I knew the contest was coming up this weekend for a different thing, and then I found out about the contest and it's changed my plans. So now we have sledding
not even
available.
Scheduled to compete in the contest, so we better peer pressure him into.
I know that's one of these moments.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, it's open.
I really
open.
Do like I.
You
I
have
was
nothing to
lose.
You have to pay $100 to enter, I think, but like
that's the part where I'm like, if I can even like just ride practice or something.
When you look back on this moment, you're not going to be like, you know, a year from now, you're not going to be like, damn it, I shouldn't have spent that $100. You're gonna.
If it's feasible for me to get through the course, I want to at least jump in there.
You have nothing to lose but $100.
I'm not a great dirt jumper. I struggle with them. I can at least. Other days, I'm like, wow, I was born dirt jumping.
Yeah.
but it's a real kind of hit or miss thing.
Sign up, man.
So if the jumps are running
there
well,
are
I'm gonna send
so
it.
few contests nowadays that are open invite, like that are just open.
I just want to say I hit those jumps.
Yeah.
Even if I was telling Dylan, literally
take advantage of
Say
this.
I hit those jumps, but
There's so many BMX
huge.
riders around the country that just complain about, and myself included, complain about contests that aren't open. You have to get invited. You know, you have to join this little BMX club. You know, this is like, take advantage of this one. You know.
Yeah. Well, and as someone who's not trying to turn BMX into a career, it would just be strictly for the Joy Quota points, right? Like I told Dylan, like if I make it through the jumps, I'll be proud. Because it would genuinely be a stretch. Like, you've ridden Barnum, and that's, like, me just getting through the set and, like, enjoying myself and maybe doing a trick or two is, like, the edge of my comfort zone, maybe
Mm-hmm.
pushing it a bit. I told Dylan, if I can get a single good photo of me doing a Superman seat grab over either of those jumps,
that'd be awesome.
That would be literally
great.
something I'd like frame for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Quality of like proudness. I have no idea if I'm capable of it.
Yeah, sign up, come out. I'm pretty sure we had guys in the last one in Anaheim who literally like jumped the first jump straight and then maybe did like a tuck or like a bar spin or maybe a bar
Don't know if
spin a
that's
tuck
worth
on the
$100.
second jump.
But not.
But you know what I'm saying?
but
Like,
not
but
doing
they
it
were so stoked. Like they
would suck.
went out there and did it, and I'm super psyched that they did.
Yeah. So if the jumps are running well, I'm for sure gonna do
After
it.
this blizzard.
I don't know because like
The snow jumps.
I've like not made it through Barnum if it's not like perfect conditions. So I'm like I don't want to spend $100 and then never even clear the first jump.
You won't remember the money spent.
That's true.
Just sign up and do it.
Oh,
Right, that was the money was the excuse on the bull thing, and
this is true.
You have a
This is
job.
true.
You have consistent money. I don't even have consistent money, and that's like sometimes.
But you also
hard-
don't have consistent
hard-
bills.
That yeah.
Ah,
That's also true. But still,
Other
it's
half of the
hard,
coin.
like, spending money when you're like, I don't know when the next time I'm going to make money, you know? Like,
yeah.
like this money I have now might need to last me a month or it might need to
Might
last
need
me
to last
a
a
week.
week. Yeah.
You know, like, who knows? Like, because I, like, that, and that's the way my life is. Like, a week from now, I could, like, get some job and get a good paycheck. But, yeah, it's hard to kind of find that balance.
I think that I think it's Tony Robbins who said it, that the quality of your life is directly determined by how capable you are of dealing with uncertainty. And that's exactly what you described.
Sounds about right.
Like, yeah, if you're not willing to sit in that place of like, maybe it needs to last a week, or maybe the dream gig will show up and I'll get to go do something awesome next week. Or maybe it's I get offered
Who knows?
an opportunity to go spend this money doing something awesome. Yeah.
all right. So we've had a decent amount of time.
Yeah. I think we're
How long has it been?
there. Like an hour and a half.
I'm not good with time.
Close to 2 hours.
Time's
But
imaginary.
Let's. I want to hear some stories. Tell it before we leave.
A bonus
I
story.
love stories.
Anything that
You got to set me up because like
Set-
there's a lot like swimming around up there in the old noggin.
well, do you have like any favorites that
Well,
come to mind?
That's way too
'cause
vague,
I
dude.
don't-
My life has been nothing but stories. Like it's back to back stories, and I just
How
it's hard
about
to remember 'em.
I'd love to hear like your favorite story of living with Dylan. Because that's an experience that only like a couple people have ever had.
Oh, the first thing
that
that
don't
pops to mind is
directly
the
relate
bull,
to
riding
Dylan.
the bull. That's the first thing.
The
that pops
mechanical
to-
bull,
the
yes.
mechanical bull. But
we didn't live together at that point, but
Oh.
well,
Still
either way,
tell
we're
that
still
story.
both living in Southern California. I'll try to
Yeah.
think of another one.
no, we can tell that one just real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a quick story. That was before I got knocked out by the real bull.
Oh yeah,
go
yeah.
to a
You've
bar.
rode real bulls now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to a bar called Black Bull, and they have a
In
mechanical
Arlington,
bull.
yeah.
And like convinced Dylan to get up on the bull. Or I don't think he needed much convincing.
Yeah.
He was in villain
I don't
mode.
think anyone at this table would need any convincing to get on a mechanical
yeah,
bull.
at this point in Dylan's life, sometimes he'd need like this was still when he was like very kind of like turtle, in the turtle shell. But he was in villain mode that night, so he gets onto the bull and like right away, I think just like whacks his head on the top of the bull riding this thing, and then he falls off, and he gets off out of the bull, and he's just like, I feel terrible. I got to throw up or something, And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. He's walking out, and I'm following him. I'm literally 2 feet behind him. And I have a drink in my hand, and he walks out the door, and then, the bouncer kind of caught me like, hey, you can't go outside with a drink. I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry. Turn around, put the drink on the bar, turn back around, walk out. I was probably 45 seconds behind him. And I walk out the door. I look left. I look right. I don't see him. I kind of like run around the corner. Like, he's just gone, just completely gone. And I didn't find out till the next morning that he apparently just ran home. I'm like, yo, what happened to you last night? Are you okay? He's like, yeah, I just went home. I'm like, what do you mean you went home? You got an Uber? He's like, no, I didn't get an Uber. I'm like, well, then how the hell did you get home? It's like a good 4 miles. He's like, dude, I ran. I think I ran. I don't really remember. I think I just ran home. Why the hell would you run home? He's like,
There's
I don't
so many
know.
stories of
I don't
Dylan
know.
getting
now
drunk
we
and
have the
running home.
stories. This was the first time though. I hit my head so hard I just got knocked crazy. Like I don't
For
remember.
sure,
I wasn't
concussion.
that. I was not. Yeah, for sure.
You
Concussion.
seem pretty normal to me, but yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't like wasted drunk. We had some drinks, but
Yeah,
it wasn't
but-
like crazy. I just hit my head so hard it knocked me crazy, and then I just like I have to get home, and so I
Just
just
ran
took
home.
off sprinting home.
That's amazing. So
and then
awesome.
the next day, I had to drive to L.A. for work, and I was just vomiting out the side of my car window on the freeway.
like a
vomiting
boss.
outside.
And the reason why this is one of my favorite stories is because like nowadays, if that happened, I'd be like, oh yeah, Dylan's just a crazy man. He's awesome, you know.
Yeah.
Good for him. But like back then, it was still like, oh, this is the kid who doesn't talk and just sits at his computer, and like, you know, for like this funny, hilarious story to happen.
Dude.
Yeah.
How about Fiona? Favorite story in Fiona? We'll just do like a rapid fire round.
Oh man, there's too many memories. I mean, my favorite times in Fiona are going down to Mexico, camping on the beach. There's this level of freedom that you experience in Mexico that you can't get in the United States. There's just no rules, basically. I mean, there are, but you know, like it's unless if you're a good
They're
person, you're not
relative rules.
going to get in any trouble in
Yeah.
Mexico with the law, at least, you know. And you're just camping on the beach, and there's just nothing but nature. Like, what I do is I go to these secluded beaches, and there's nothing but nature and waves and just, you know, no service. And sometimes you're there by yourself. Sometimes other surfers, usually from like San Diego area, show up, and like instantly you're just best friends, you know,
Yeah.
brought together through the love of surfing, camping, and Baja. So those are my favorite times in Fiona. If I could have my way, I'd be down there all the time, just surfing and all that. But BMX brings me back to Southern California, and I love that, but sometimes I hate it, you know? Sometimes I'm like, I wish I could just surf all the time. And I'm like a mediocre surfer at best. Like I'm, you know, intermediate. I'm nothing special, but it's awesome. It's an amazing sport.
Next time
to do
Dylan
it.
takes a surf trip, I'll go join you guys. That
Yeah.
sounds, because I've always wanted to at least give it a shot, and it does seem
Dude,
awesome.
on the wave storm, you'll catch some waves, and it's a blast.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
the best thing. Like, you could wait 30 minutes and get a 2-second ride.
But that's
it's
part of
worth
the
it. And that-
experience.
that's like the chase.
Right, it's
You're
the chase,
chasing
but also
this-
that 30 minutes is spent just bobbing around in the ocean, like completely disconnected from society and like our culture and technology. And you're just sitting in this ocean, which is alive and you know,
Yeah.
has this energy, and it's awesome. So even like a bad day surfing with no waves is still like if you're in the waters, it's a good time.
That's what honestly sounds
if you're
like the best
into
part.
nature and you enjoy that, you know, I mean, not everybody is, but
Because, yeah, I could go someplace that manufactures waves, and I bet it's the funnest. But that is just going to the skate park. Versus, like, when you go out with your buddies and you have no plans and you have no idea where you're going, and all of a sudden you end up at this random spot or a random skate park, and it's all organic and natural. Like, that to me feels like a day out on the water where you're like, I genuinely don't know if I'm going to stack a clip. I don't know if I'm going to catch a wave. I don't know if I'm going to do anything, but I'm away from anything that isn't this moment right here, right now. I'm completely present, and that's what seems attractive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like the van was definitely made for south of the border trips. I still haven't done the big one that I want to. When I first bought the van, I wanted to drive down to Panama for a drink or for a little
For a drink.
That would actually be hilarious.
Hey, and actually,
Drink out
I
of the Panama Canal.
totally said that by accident, but that's a really good topic I'd like to just touch on really quick. Like, a lot of my trips, like, there's no destination. There's no, like, grand, like, hey, we're doing this to go here to do this big thing. Like, you could literally just be like, I'm going to go drive to Panama to go get a drink. Like, that's the goal. Like, I'm going to go to some random bar in Panama and get a drink, or like whatever it is. It doesn't matter, you know, because like the whole, you know, I'm sure
The
you
whole
guys have heard it a
purpose of
million
having
times.
a destination is that it sets you in motion.
Yeah, it sets you in motion, and then you're going. So like, you don't have to have this big crazy destination or like, you know, goal for a trip to be amazing. You know, you just got to go. So that's a really good point.
I like that.
But yeah, like the van was definitely made to go do a trip like this, and I haven't yet. like a long trip in the van, but it'll come. I had one set in motion, but the plans fell apart, which they do. And actually, that's what brought me to India. The plans to drive to Panama fell apart, and then like last minute, I was like, oh, I got to do something. I was planning on traveling this whole time.
Jones and
Yeah. So that was cool.
Heck yeah. Well, yeah, we've been at it for a while, so good place to wrap up if everyone fairly happy.
Yeah, let's finish with our normal last question. When you think of the word joy, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Joy? I think like as I've been learning it now is you can't have joy without good people in your life. Like human connection is everything, and the relationships that you have. So like you can't have joy without good people around you, so because I can go experience a million things by myself and I have a good time, but when you have good people there with you, that's joy, so that's what I think of, like good people around me experiencing new things. That's what joy is to me.
Heck yeah.
And Alex is the best at that. It's like bringing new experiences to people that need it, such as myself. So
yeah, and I just want to mention this really quick. Like I just heard this the other day, and it just stuck with me, like a little corny quote, but it was like, never forget who you wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because like as a kid, we all wanted to be something awesome, whether it was realistic or not. But I think a lot of people forget that along the way. Just get stuck into our normal lives. Like never forget who you wanted to be.
Yeah, because.
And then be that person.
I could talk about it for hours, for sure, because there's something about who that person was that you can still bring into wherever you are, even if, like, let's say you wanted to be an astronaut. Well, like, maybe it's because you wanted to push the boundaries of what is possible. It's not because you wanted to be an astronaut. So maybe you're in the technology field, but all of a sudden you think of it of the terms of, like, actually what I really wanted to be was be on the cutting edge of what could be done. And all of a sudden you can feel that same mission and still be exactly who you wanted to be as a kid, just by remembering, like, oh, it wasn't that I wanted to be an astronaut. It's that I wanted to be at the edge of what was possible, or whatever that might look like. Yeah. Dude. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, Alex. This has been a treat, and can't wait to go jump the scariest jumps ever made. So I'm pretty much sold on the fact that I'm going to be doing it, because that's my form of accountability. I have to tell people that I'm going to do it, because then they'll make me do it, and I'll be so grateful that I did. But I'm terrified already.
I can't wait to go sledding.
Yeah, we'll hopefully it snows enough and we'll get a good sled session.
Let's go be sledders as grown men. Let's go ride sleds.
I want to make sledding an actual legitimate thing so bad, like
backcountry sledding.
It's an Olympic sport. It's called bobsledding. It's in the Olympics.
I've done it. Yeah, I want to do like backcountry sledding, like legitimate, like cliffs and chutes and like real
helicopter and drops you off.
As long as you like back pain, Because if you're doing cliffs, you're landing on your ass.
But I think it'll be so powdery. Like, we went and tried the snow bike, and I took hands down the hardest falls I've ever taken. But you're in powder, and
there's a skill to it. Like, you're sitting on your ass, but you have your feet out in front of you, and if you just like let your feet hit first, it takes most of the. You can still take most of the impact with your knee.
And you can kind of like.
Let's go test it.
I think 'about it. Yeah.
Teach me.
Yeah.
As soon as.
We're done with Alex the podcast. Next. We're going sledding.
It'll be sledding.
At 8 p.m.
Yeah. On 0 inches of snow. It'll be good.
We'll figure it out.
Concrete sledding.
All right.
See ya.